area and getting off at Beck Street, do expect some construction congestion. Let Zero Res make your carpet new again. Call 866-0RES or go online to zerores.com to schedule your appointment today. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today's high will get up into the mid-90s. We'll be there through Thursday. We have a slight chance of a thunderstorm this afternoon. Then we're back over 100 starting on Friday. Right now it's 84 degrees. Inside Sources coming up next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
9 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small to look at our top stories this hour. Officials at the Utah State Prison are doing their part to conserve water by removing grass in their landscaping and replacing it with stone designs. The Xeriscaping project started 2 years ago, and thousands of tons of rock are being hauled in and organized to create designs featuring Utah landmarks like Arches National Park, the state flag, and some inmates have proposed their own designs like a Pac-Man.
You know, I think that if something fits into the space and they're able to do it and they have enough rocks, why not? Let's make it pleasant for everybody.
Director of Public Affairs Richard Pyatt says in the next year they will save 3.25 million gallons of water. They are about a quarter of a way through the project. Few people know how to beat the heat more than those working out in it, like UPS drivers, and one postman shared his tips after 23 years behind the wheel. 49-year-old Joel Reyes told the Wall Street Journal that besides water and AC, his number one tip is investing in high-tech wearables like water-activated cooling towels and a cooling baseball cap you can keep on ice. Reyes also says that what you eat is essential for keeping cool. He recommends you steer clear of anything too greasy and says pickles are the way to go. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. New technology is targeting leadfoots and reckless drivers. ABC's Wayne Cabot has more.
Virginia now allows cameras in crosswalks and stop signs, a bill by State Senator Angelia Williams-Graves.
They will turn on when they sense the car approaching and not slowing down. The goal is for people to obey the rules of the road.
Virginia is also first in the nation to put a device in the vehicle of chronic speeders. Go over the speed limit, the brakes are applied. A mother who lost her son to a speeding crash says this would have saved him. Wayne Cabot, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is starting out down 30 points, down to 52,878. The S&P, though, is up 47. The NASDAQ off to a really good start, up 302 points. Coming up, we've already hit 100 degrees over the weekend, and there's more of that weather in the forecast. Take a look at that next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
Doug Wright, and I'm here with Monty from Connecticut Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, an authorized Connecticut independent dealer. Now, Monty, don't all of the other water softeners require us to basically trust our home's water to electronics? If a power surge happens, a fried circuit board, or the power just goes out suddenly, aren't you back to scrubbing hard water scale and dry skin?
Yes, we believe the best technology is simple. That's why Connecticut's premium systems are non-electric. While other softeners rely on finicky computers and electronics, Connecticut runs on the kinetic energy of moving water. Nothing to plug in, no buttons to push, and zero electricity.
I've had a Connecticut soft water system in my home for many years, and I've never had to do anything to it except occasionally add a little salt. And I love that it never requires me to set or program anything. Dee loves that she always has the soft water. So do what I did and go to softwaterutah.com to learn how your family can enjoy the benefits of soft water without the hassles of traditional water softeners. That's softwaterutah.com.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
You can't always predict what's next, but you can be ready for it in a BMW SUV. The X1 delivers on confident agility and a striking presence that stands out in a crowd. Or you can own the road in the versatile X3 with advanced driving technology like BMW Connected Drive and sporty design cues. The X5 blends performance and elegance with functionality and a commanding presence. And when only the biggest will do, the X7 steps things up with precision-crafted finishes and 3 rows of luxurious seating so there's always space, even for the biggest plans. Every model is engineered with BMW's intelligent all-wheel drive to give you the confidence in any driving condition. So while you can't always predict what's coming, for every road there's an X built to drive it. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Discover your dream vehicle at BMW of Murray or BMW of Pleasant Grove. BMW Utah. Drive elevated.
Hi, thanks for calling Uline.
Wait, did the phone even ring?
Nope.
Okay, so you answered before the ring. But now you're going to put me on hold, right?
We don't do that here. We're real people answering the phone, ready to help with your order when you are.
Uline has thousands of quality products for your business and warehouse needs, always in stock, ready to ship same day, and backed by Uline's legendary 24/7 customer service. Uline, we warehouse for you.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Got some new heavy delays starting up on southbound I-215's westbound just after the I-80 interchange and reaching down toward California Avenue. That could be due to construction, but it could be a new crash. Eastbound I-80, that right lane's still pretty full as you approach the US 40 turnoff. And it looks like that westbound I-80 exit ramp at 13th East is still closed. Now, the semi is completely gone. I saw them actually have to back out that trailer all the way down the off-ramp, and it looks like they're working to open that up right now as we speak, so that's good news. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for a high of 97 degrees today in Salt Lake City with a chance of isolated thunderstorms. Got more chance of thunderstorms and a high of 95 tomorrow. We're going to be staying in the mid-90s through most of the week, but by Friday we could be reaching triple digits. Saturday, Sunday, we could be hitting highs of 103 and 105 respectively. Right now it's 83 degrees and mostly cloudy skies in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, even as we speak, the court is about to start in the preliminary hearing for the case against Tyler Robinson. He's the person who's accused of shooting and killing a political influencer, Charlie Kirk. The Utah County Attorney's Office is expected to make their case before a judge at this preliminary hearing, and it's supposed to go all of 5 days.
It really has been quite the process just to get to this point. But now the prosecution will outline much of their evidence behind their belief that Robinson traveled to UVU last September and took the fatal shot at Kirk during a Turning Point USA talking tour.
Yeah, one thing that's important is that the widow of Charlie Kirk, Erica, and his family, his parents, will be in attendance at the preliminary hearing, which they're absolutely entitled to do as victims.
So the murder of Charlie Kirk is how we're beginning today's Inside Sources with a closer look at new developments in this case, and I'll have a whole bunch of questions for you, Greg.
Yeah, so the judge has just taken the bench. The state hasn't called any witnesses yet. I'm sure there will be some preliminary matters to take place. The Erica Kirk family has given a statement that they support the court, that they grieve obviously for Charlie Kirk, and finally that they're not going to give any sort of a statement. They're just going to let the system play itself out. So I wouldn't expect her to be interviewed at all until maybe when it's over. And again, it's scheduled for 5 days.
Yeah, so that's one of my questions. So a preliminary hearing, you've told us and our listeners how it's different than a jury trial. Why on earth is it going to take 5 days?
It shouldn't, in all honesty. Although I would say in this case, the reason it's scheduled for 5 days is that the court's giving the prosecution the benefit of the doubt and saying, look, I'm going to give you as much time as you need to put it on. One of the days is a half day. It's still 4.5 days, which is long. I don't think this case is going to take more than 3 days, because a preliminary hearing is just a mini trial. It's just put on enough evidence before the court to establish that there's enough evidence to go to trial, and ask the judge, hey, after everything you've heard, is there enough evidence to go to trial? He will certainly say that there is, and then he does what we call bind the case over. You bind the case over for trial, and then there will be a trial set, much, much later. But this is just the state showing of its case. and putting on enough evidence to convince a judge that there's enough evidence to go to trial.
And the bar is lower, much lower than for a trial, isn't it?
Absolutely. The burden of proof is on the state, but it's to what we call a probable cause determination. In other words, is it more likely than not that something occurred here? Whereas at a jury trial, it's proof beyond a reasonable doubt. It's a very high standard. The jury has to be unanimous. In this case, it's just a judge, a single person, and it's a probable cause determination. And further, Utah law requires that the court find the evidence in the light most favorable to the state. So the judge isn't going to be making determinations as to who's telling the truth and who's not. If the state puts on the evidence, the judge is presumed to find that to be credible, and he will probably find it to be credible.
So is this a process where both the prosecution and defense could call witnesses?
It's certainly a process, Holly, where the state will put on witnesses. They have to.
Okay.
The defense can. They typically don't. When I do preliminary hearings as a defense attorney, I don't put on evidence, in part because you don't need to. It doesn't help you, and in fact gives the state a chance to see your case. This is the state's showing of its case, so typically the defense does not put on any witnesses at a preliminary hearing. Now, there is an exception in this case because the state has asked to be able, the defense has asked to be able to put on Charlie Kirk's roommate. The judge denied that request because he's out of state, and it would be difficult to get there. And the judge is saying, look, it's not your show anyway, so we're not going to force him to come out here for this. But that's the only exception in this case, is that the defense did ask to call a particular witness. Now, that witness will testify through what we call hearsay. In other words, the investigative officer who interviewed that particular witness will testify. I interviewed Tyler Robinson's roommate, and he said this, this, and this. The problem with that is if you're a defense attorney, you can't really cross-examine what somebody said. I mean, you'd rather have the person live on the stand, which is why the defense wanted him to be there, because it's no fun cross-examining a hearsay statement. But again, the judge has said, look, it's not your case at this point. It's the state's case to put on enough evidence to convince me as a judge that this case should go to trial.
So let me ask you then, if they're using this hearsay testimony from the roommate, would he conceivably be called in person to an actual trial?
Yes, because that's a great question. So hearsay evidence is admissible at a preliminary hearing, but it's not admissible at a trial for the reasons articulated under the Fifth and Sixth Amendments to the Constitution, which is the right to confront and cross-examine witnesses. That doesn't apply at a preliminary hearing, but it does apply at a trial. The defense has said, look, this isn't just any other preliminary hearing. This is a death penalty case. We think that ability should apply here. But the judge has said, no, we're going to treat this like every other case in Utah where you have a preliminary hearing and let the state put on its case and allow some level of hearsay. The judge is actually going through quite a little colloquy this morning to kind of say, keep it dialed back. I hope that that both sides have prepared this case. I know there's a lot of emotions here, but I'm asking everybody to follow the decorum of the court. He's going through, he's been talking for about as long as we have, just to try to get everybody to dial it back.
So do you think that the state would put Tyler on the stand in a preliminary hearing?
They would love to, but they can't.
Okay.
So they can't even call him at the trial. In America, the accused has a right to not incriminate himself if he chooses not to. So the only person that can put the defendant on the stand is the defense.
That's what happened in the Corey Richards trial. She never took the stand.
Right, and the state would have probably loved to put her on the stand, but they can't. That's the Fifth Amendment, and that's the United States Constitution. Now, the state can call anybody else that they want, so long as they're relevant. The defense can too, but the defense ultimately lets the defendant, in this case Tyler Robinson, decide if he wants to testify. Now, having said that, the judge will ask the defense when the state's done with the preliminary hearing, let's say it's sometime Thursday or Friday, to the defense, is there anybody you want to call? And the defense attorneys will say to Tyler, you would have the right to testify right now if you wanted to, but we're advising you not to. Are you going to follow that advice? And he'll say yes. So because he does have the right to testify at the preliminary hearing, but his attorneys will strongly advise him not to.
So before they get to Thursday, Will they cross-examine then potential witnesses that the state has put on?
Yeah, it's just like a trial in that respect. That's a great question. As the state puts on witnesses, the defense can cross-examine, the state can go back, they can go back and forth, and there will certainly be a fair amount of cross-examination. So because the defense can prod and pry into the witnesses what they're going to say. Most of the witnesses are going to be police officers, investigators, maybe the medical examiner to talk about the cause of death, maybe a few witnesses who were there, and then the defense can cross-examine them just as they can at trial.
Okay. So coming up on Inside Sources, I'm going to ask you, is there any chance this whole case could not go to trial? We're going to talk about that and some other things about this trial when we come back.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off, or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you spend half your day walking or standing while working? If you have foot, knee, or back problems, the Good Feet store wants to help you like we helped Tony.
Pain that I experience the most is foot pain from being on my feet all day. You're having to kind of talk to yourself through the whole shift, like, I got this, I can do this. Before, I felt defeated, and now it's like, all right, let's go. I'm ready. A whole new life, like sunshine coming on.
And how about working more comfortably, like Dennis?
Working at an amusement park, it's always on your feet. I just couldn't take it, but I didn't have a choice. I just couldn't believe that putting these arch supports in made that much of a difference that quickly. I could do my job and I could take care of my family. I know what my tomorrow's gonna be. It's gonna be positive.
You deserve a better life too. Stop in the Good Feet store today. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel you attract people who tend to be compulsive or abusive?
Do you have money problems because of someone else's drinking?
Are you afraid or embarrassed to bring your friends home?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
More than half of all adults have a family history of alcoholism.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
Really ugly clouds coming over from the north.
a place
The ridgeline is imposing, the escarpments, the drops.
where survival
It's dark now. I have nothing.
is never certain.
This is not good.
My name's Dave Cawley, and I'm the host of a podcast called Uinta Triangle. It's about the disappearance of an Australian hiker named Eric.
Our conclusion and that of the sheriff is that the mountains have decided to keep him.
Come retrace Eric's footprints with me.
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard. Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
He is not the first or last person to vanish in this remote region.
It was haunting to see the photos. I mean, really.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle. That's Uinta, spelled U-I-N-T-A, Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts. All episodes out now.
The new Inside Sources.
The murder of Charlie Kirk. We're continuing our conversation this morning as the preliminary hearing gets underway.
Yeah, and we can expect the next 5 days to look kind of like a mini trial. The prosecutors will lay out their case, at least enough of their case that they think that will show the judge that there is evidence sufficient to make the case go forward to trial.
So nearly 10 months after the death of Charlie Kirk, Tyler Robinson still hasn't entered a plea, and you told me he can't.
Yeah, so until the case is bound over to stand trial in Utah and in other states that have what we call a preliminary hearing system, the defendant can't enter a plea until there's sufficient evidence to go to trial. And then if the state prevails at the preliminary hearing, which they certainly will, the judge will say, okay, I'm binding this case over to trial. We'll schedule an arraignment, and that'll be the first time that Tyler Robinson can say the words not guilty. The judge will ask how he wants to plead.
Okay. So just as we were going to break, the defense invoked the exclusionary rule. I have no idea what that means.
Okay, it means different things in different contexts, but let me tell you what it means here. It means something for when police illegally seize evidence, but that's not what we're talking about here. In the preliminary hearing process, and even at a trial, each side can invoke what's called the exclusionary rule, which excludes witnesses from hearing one another testify. So if you're a witness in this case, you have to step out of the courtroom right now.
Okay.
All the witnesses, with one or two exceptions, like the lead investigator and the defendant, obviously they can stay in, and the victims. So the state will have all of its witnesses wait outside because we want witnesses to testify to what they know, what they heard, what they saw, not what someone else may have said. You could imagine a scenario where a witness is sitting in the courtroom and another witness testifies and they go, oh yeah, he was wearing a red coat. You know what I mean?
Right,
and then their testimony is suddenly biased. So we invoke the exclusionary rule. Then nobody gets to know what the questions are, what the other witnesses have said. You testify in a vacuum, and that will certainly happen at the trial too. So that was not an unusual.
So that does sound pretty normal.
Absolutely. You would expect that in virtually every preliminary hearing.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you what types of information do we already know or think we know that the prosecution is going to present as evidence?
Yeah, so they need to prove two things. One, that a crime was committed, and so they'll put on evidence that Charlie Kirk was murdered. They'll probably put on a forensic witness or maybe the medical examiner who will say, I examined him, he was shot, the bullet caused his death, so there was a murder.
Mm-hmm.
Then the rest of their case is who did it, and that will be the focus on Tyler Robinson. They'll put on witnesses about, they'll do a significant amount of evidence about what happened after the murder and before Tyler Robinson was arrested. What was the investigation that led up to that arrest, and what evidence did the police have that led to that arrest? And then they'll also put on the information that they've gained since the arrest. If he made a statement, for example, to his roommate, if he gave a statement to his father, to his religious leader, whoever he spoke to after this occurred, and that, of course, he left some notes and emails and things like that, text messages, they'll probably bring that in too to show A, that Charlie Kirk was murdered, and B, that Tyler Robinson is the person that committed that homicide.
So as this unfolded last year, I know that there was certainly a family connection with his family encouraging him or helping him to turn himself in. Is it likely that they'll be on the stand then?
Probably not. I mean, I think it'd be awkward to put his father on the stand. He'll probably testify at the trial. If the state feels like they need that evidence, they might, or if they want to preserve it, they could. But if Tyler Robinson did give a statement to a family member, hey, I did this crime. The state may want to preserve that evidence by putting that individual on the stand. I would say this, because it's set for 5 days, they probably do have some witnesses about that. They'll probably even call a couple people who are at the event, because one of the aggravating circumstances, the aggravating circumstance in this case that makes it from a murder to an aggravated murder in order to qualify for the death penalty, is that the shooting created a grave risk of death to others. So they may have people that were there who are going, man, I was sitting a few feet away from him. You know what I mean? I was close by. I was in the line of fire.
Thousands of people there.
Yeah, 3,500 people, something like that.
So let me ask you this, and maybe you don't know the answer. How on earth would you narrow down people who are at the event who might come testify?
I think they'd just get the ones who were most in tune with what was going on, that were watching closely, that gave compelling statements. I mean, maybe just one or two, and they can really go through anybody, but they'll probably just put on a couple that seem the most credible. Yeah, right. So they're also, they haven't even called a witness yet. They're still arguing about what evidence, what kind of media attention this is going to get, and whether or not there will be live coverage. Of course, there is live coverage, but they're also, the defense is concerned about maybe some of the evidence being not being readily available to the public. Defense wants to make sure that the public, especially the public that's going to end up serving on the jury, isn't overexposed to this case. And so when you get there to serve on your jury, you go, I watched the prelim, I know the case back and forward. So yeah, the judge is probably going to take a break and then make a ruling on that. But so far, we're 20 minutes into the preliminary hearing and nobody's called a witness yet, which is not uncommon.
It's got 5 days.
Right, yeah. They got plenty of time.
It's got 5 days. So look, I know there has been a lot of back and forth with what media can and can't do. And I understand there's a no device rule in the courtroom. So any reporters who are in there, they must be taking notes by a longhand.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly the video of the court, and someone's in there with a camera right now. Usually they'll have a media person who is assigned to get this, and then the court itself has the cameras in the courtroom, or at least some courts do. I assume this one would. But they don't want people, taping on their cell phones and taking pictures and doing that kind of a thing. I mean, let's because a lot of times things happen that are not on the record. Right. So, for example, right now they're in recess. So if people have their cell phones and they're taping
what's happening
Tyler
right
talking
now
to his attorneys or something, that would be highly inappropriate. So, and the judge was really careful about that, saying, look, we're going to follow the rules here. We're going to be very, very closely guarded, because this judge wants to make sure we can get a fair trial next year or whenever it goes to trial.
Sure. So one of my questions with this most recent thing about potential evidence, what could the judge rule with the presentation and keeping it public or not public?
Yeah, so he's already made, that's a good question. He's already made most of his rulings about, look, this is America. This is, courts are public, and we're not going to restrict that. What he's trying to do is restrict the sort of extrajudicial, the things that are not happening in the courtroom on the record when everybody's there. The conversations, he's telling the attorneys, don't talk to the media.
Right.
The prosecutor, that we already got a prosecutor in trouble for doing that exact same thing.
Right.
What happens in the courtroom is fair game. That's part of the public record, and that's something that the judge will allow to be presented to the public. But boy, he doesn't want people saying things in and out or during the recesses or going outside and talking to the media or something like that, and he'll guard that pretty closely.
I know we're almost out of time, but I have two questions. How common is it for family members to be here at a preliminary hearing? So we know Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk's parents are there.
Very common, and I would assume, given the fact that the courtroom is packed, that they reserved a seat for them. They didn't have to stand in line. Either family member. The defendant's family and the victim's family will both have the right to be present, and for all parts of the proceeding. It's allowed, and it's always allowed. You said, how common is it? It's always allowed, but it's not always done. I mean, a lot of families like, hey, let us know how it shakes out. We'll come to the actual trial, or we'll come to the sentencing. Especially Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk's parents. I mean, they flew from out of state.
Right.
They came a long way for this, which I think is very important, and maybe even telling, that shows that she Erica Kirk and Charlie Kirk's parents want to stay involved in this case, that they're
Yeah.
interested in the proceedings.
All right, my final question as we run out of time. Is there any chance that this case doesn't actually go to trial?
There's every chance that it may not go to trial. I mean, there will be certainly negotiations going on, and I think that this preliminary hearing will spur some negotiations. I think both sides will say, oh, our case is stronger than we thought, or maybe not so strong, and that there will be a chance for negotiations. That's part of the purpose of the preliminary hearing, and that's another reason why you have a 5-day preliminary hearing, because it may be the only chance we get to hear the evidence.
So potentially a plea bargain. Not that there's not enough evidence that it would.
Right. Yeah,
move
that's
forward.
true. Yeah, cases like this often resolve. Who knows what this will happen? Well, we'll follow up with that case later. But after the break, we talked about this on Friday, but there are several BUIs, that is boating under the influence, and DUIs over the long holiday weekend, despite pleas from law enforcement to celebrate responsibly. We'll chat more about Utah's blood alcohol limit, the lower limit, and we'll talk to the state representative behind it all when we come back.
It's 9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small to look at our top stories this half hour. Investigators in Provo are asking for help to identify the people they think are responsible for the Slate Canyon fire. KSL News Radio's Cameron Elliott has the story.
In photos shared by the Provo Fire Department, we can see that a small section of the hillside was singed by fast-burning fires. But the fire department was able to put it out quickly due to preventative work they had done to clear out fuels earlier in the season.
Talked to a couple of police officers that were watching it, and they said once it hit that fuel break where that trail is, it just kind of stopped and started moving north and south and slowed down quite a bit.
Jeannie Atherton from Provo Fire and Safety says they're still trying to identify who lit the fireworks that caused the fire, and if you've seen or heard anything about how this fire started, authorities urge you to contact them at fireprevention@provo.gov. Cameron Elliott, KSL News Radio.
Fire officials say you can start to expect to see more dust devils popping up. This is when the sun heats the ground and the air right above it gets hot and less dense than the cooler air above it, and that pocket shoots upward, sending the dust up. They are more likely to show up in areas recently hit by fires, especially around the Iron and Cherry Fire burn scars. And health officials say we are seeing more cases of West Nile virus in mosquitoes much earlier than expected. Angie White, disease investigator with the Bear River Health Department, says if you get bitten, watch for symptoms even 1 to 2 weeks later.
Joint and muscle aches, those kinds of things. So if you start having flu-like symptoms after you've had a pretty significant mosquito exposure, definitely talk to a healthcare provider.
White says the winter was mild and may not have killed off the little biters. She says to cover your arms and legs and wear repellent when you're outdoors. Your money at this moment, the Dow is slightly down right now, just down 12 points. The S&P is up 53. The NASDAQ continues to climb, now up 340 points. Coming up, just logged our first 100-degree day of the year, and there is plenty more of it where it came from. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
Right now, JCW's has 15 buses and billboards depicting our delicious, mouthwatering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
Friday, join KSL News Radio and NPS from 10 to 1 as the movie show stops by. Then browse and uncover what makes NPS so great. With 4 locations, NPS takes in new inventory every day. Then they check all competitors' retail pricing before marking items down 20 to 70% off. So you're invited to visit the movie show Friday 10 to 1. And that's the first step to discovering NPS. Visit npsstore.com to begin your own NPS adventure. npsstore.com.
Progressive knows you could have easily taken the freeway, but you took the scenic route to see a waterfall and an oddly busy boiled peanut stand. Discovering the unexpected is exactly why you bought an RV, so protect it with a bundle from Progressive. Because although you may be 3 hours behind schedule, you're 6 jars of jam richer and possibly enrolled in a butter-churning workshop. Switch to Progressive and protect your RV, boat, or motorcycle by bundling with your home or auto insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Annie's first oil change wasn't as hard as she thought because she went to AutoZone, where a friendly AutoZoner helped her find the right oil and save on an oil filter. He explained the job and showed her free how-tos on AutoZone.com. When she was done, AutoZone recycled her old oil for free. Get a free oil filter and more during the Celebrate Free event at AutoZone, now through July 27th.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
Well, a lot of our earlier roadway crashes have cleared off. On I-80, you're in the clear near 13th East. Even eastbound I-80, the right lane's not too full approaching US 40. I-15 is clean and clear between Ogden and Provo, but down in Payson, we have a crash on southbound I-15. Looks like they're blocking a left lane as you get out of Payson and approach Santaquin. Causing a little bit of delay there. Make your summer plans more rewarding with double points on gas and groceries using your rewards Visa from Cyprus Credit Union. Learn more at cypruscu.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather, we're going to see highs in the mid to upper 90s for the next 4 days, but come this weekend is when it's really going to get hot. High of 100 on Friday, 103 Saturday, and 105 on Sunday. Right now, it is 84 degrees and partly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we talked about this last week that law enforcement was going to have extra shifts out this weekend for both DUI and BUI, boating under the influence, to keep Utah's roads and waterways safer, thinking that might have an influence on people's habits. But in the end, UHP said they had more than 40 DUIs over the weekend.
Yeah. We look back over the 4th of July weekend in road safety. I do wonder, how have Utah's changing blood alcohol limits affected Utah roads? So remember that the legislature lowered the legal limit from 0.08 to 0.05 back in 2017. So it's been almost 10 years.
I had no idea it had been that long because I remember
right?
when it occurred. I remember when it went from 0.10 to 0.08. That's how long I've been around, and it continues to drop. 0.05. Now that's the amount of alcohol that's in your blood. It's 0.05%. In other words, 0.05%. Not very much, but it's enough to make you goofy and make you an unsafe driver. And we have learned, I think, that most people have been able to determine that even that low of a level of alcohol in your system can impair your judgment. And you put people on these machines and you let them sort of react to things, but impairment begins pretty early. And we've always thought that 0.08, you let people go out, have a drink or two, just be responsible, because we're never going to have a law that says you can't drink and drive.
That was called prohibition.
Right?
I guess it's a version of prohibition.
Right. Yeah. So to say, well, even if you're, although I will say this, I digress a little bit. If you have a DUI, if you have a record of a DUI, then we call it not a drop.
Yeah.
Or if you're under the age of 21, not a drop. In other words, any alcohol in your system is a violation of the law.
Right.
But otherwise, for the rest of everyone else who has no prior history, they can have a drink. You just have to be responsible and keep it down to that 0.05 level, which for most people is like, you figure most people get about 0.03 per drink. And I'm not giving legal advice here, but so 1.5 drinks, that's pretty much where you can stop.
So there's some research now on this drop to the 0.05, and I wanted to talk with State Representative Norm Thurston because he was behind that bill that passed almost a decade ago. Thanks for joining us, Representative Thurston.
No problem. Glad to be here.
So I wonder if you could talk to us about what you have learned and what you have found out about what happened in Utah after we went from 0.08 to 0.05.
Yeah, so what we always wanted to do was change behavior. So there were a lot of other sort of fears and concerns about what might happen. But the one goal that we always had from a policy perspective was to send a strong message that if you're driving, you shouldn't drink. And what's interesting about it, there have been several studies now. The latest one is very powerful. But early on, we saw the effect in changing behavior even before the law took effect. And I think a lot of it had to do with news coverage, with the advertisements where people put in the newspapers. The word just got out. And so we actually saw the behavior change before the law changed. And we are continuing to see that in the data that it is having that desired effect, which is if you're driving, don't drink. It's just that simple.
Representative Thurston, we've seen that Utah's limits went from 0.08 to 0.05. I think that's still the lowest in the country. Based on some of the preliminary findings that we're getting, do you think other states may jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, that if it works in Utah, let's have it work here? I think we lost him.
Well, darn.
That's okay. Because I think if the numbers do, when we look at this every year, and I've talked about this numerous times, we look at DUI and BUI and what happens and what we can do. Because let's face it, we continue to pass tougher laws every year, and we continue to have DUIs, and we had 40 this weekend. So what's going on? Why aren't people getting the message? Maybe they are getting the message.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe in years past we would have had 60 or 80 or 100. And so if that's the case, and we can look empirically and say, okay, let's go back 10 years in 2016. What did we have over the weekend? If we had more than 40 and this year we have 40, right, maybe we are going in the right direction. And so I would be interested in talking to Representative Thurston if he gets back on the line to see if in fact we have seen a change. Because, I mean, I'm all in favor of reducing the number of drunk drivers. I mean, take it from me, even though I represent people in DUIs, you don't want them, and especially for those of us that ride bikes or ride motorcycles or have kids, you don't want anybody else on the road that's a hazard.
Well, we do have Representative Thurston back, so thanks for coming back.
Yeah.
So
technology is wonderful.
So yeah. When it works.
I think I heard the Greg's question. And so yes, we are seeing changes in a lot of different areas. So like I said, the important thing is change in behavior. But what follows from that is a decreased number of crashes and deaths. And that's hard to measure because the population's growing, the number of miles driven is growing, congestion is changing, all of this sort of stuff. But I think the careful studies are really very good, and they're showing that we are seeing the decreased number of crashes and deaths from drunk driving or from impaired driving. And so that's exciting because change in behavior is one thing, but what we really want is keep the public safe. So that's the end goal of all of it.
So one of the unfortunate incidents that happened over the weekend was a drunk driver in Utah ended up slamming into a group of kids, right? And one young girl, she's 11, ended up having to be life flighted because she was crushed between two vehicles. So even though it's decreasing, right, we know that there are still ongoing issues.
Oh yeah, it's not zero. And I think that's the important thing. That's why I'm glad we're talking about this today, is that maybe somebody out there that hadn't really taken it that seriously will get the message. You know what? If I'm going to be driving, I shouldn't be drinking. Those two things do not go together. And it's so tragic. It's so unfortunate. And so until we get to zero fatalities, which is, of course, that is a laudable goal, we just need to keep pushing. Drive safe. Don't do distractive things while you're driving. Don't be impaired while you're driving. Just, if you're going to be driving, do it safely.
And I was going to ask, and I before we got cut off, whether or not you've heard, Representative Thurston, if other states are considering doing. I don't know of any other states that are at 0.05, and I may be wrong, but are other states considering that based on these positive results that we're getting here in Utah?
Absolutely. So there are at least 13 states that have either introduced or are considering introducing legislation. I would like to handicap and say I know which one is going to be next. If I had to put money on this, I would say Washington State or Hawaii will probably be next because they've been working on it the longest. But there are some other states that have very strong thoughts about this and are very, very promising legislative efforts. And so we'll just see. We'll just see how it plays out. But I get contacted on a regular basis from states that are saying, hey, we're taking a look at this. What have you learned from Utah? What can you help us understand both about the politics and the policy?
And what have you learned that you can share with these other states? And we only have 30 seconds left, sorry.
Oh, absolutely. That it does not have the negative impacts that people are afraid of. It doesn't have the negative impacts on tourism. It doesn't have the negative impacts on anything. It only has negative impacts on deaths and crashes. That's the only negative impact, which is a good thing. So that's the one thing. So all of the arguments against it are not as strong as you would think they would be. And it happens. It's good. People can do it. You can change behavior. It's just sending a strong message. It's easy to do.
All right. Thanks, Representative Thurston. That was Representative Norm Thurston. Coming up next on Inside Sources, besides DUIs and BUIs, the state also saw some fires pop up over the long holiday weekend thanks to fireworks. More on that after the break.
Hey, Utah, have you heard? Nuclear energy might be coming to our state. Now, before your brain jumps straight into sci-fi movies, let's talk about what nuclear actually does. Nuclear technology helps power our nation's submarines, supports life-saving cancer treatments, and produces reliable electricity for millions of homes. That said, nuclear power also comes with some common misconceptions. Don't worry, we get it. Here's a fun fact. You're exposed to more radiation eating bananas than you are living near a nuclear power plant. And get this, a lifetime supply of nuclear energy fits into a single soda can. Despite what some people believe, nuclear energy is safe, clean, and incredibly efficient. But don't just take my word for it. Energy decisions matter, and Utahns deserve the facts. Learn more about nuclear and what it can mean for you. Visit energy.utah.gov/nuclear.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
When it's hot like this, air conditioners struggle to keep up. Parts are under more stress, and sometimes those parts fail. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and no one helps more homeowners maintain and repair their air conditioners than Any Hour Services. As a matter of fact, last year, over 32,000 homeowners called Any Hour Services for help maintaining and repairing their systems. Any Hour Services has over 100 HVAC technicians to help with everything from maintenance, repair, to installing a new system. This summer, there'll be a lot of people told they need to replace their air conditioner, and they'll wonder, do I really need to? If you're told you need to replace your air conditioner and you still have questions, Any Hour Services can give you a second opinion and let you know what options are available. Maybe it just needs a little maintenance or a small repair. Maybe it does need to be replaced, but if you don't feel good about being told you need to replace your air conditioner, don't ignore those feelings. Call Any Hour Services for help with air conditioner maintenance, repair, or to schedule a free second opinion. Google Any Hour Services or schedule online at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
It's game day. Are your moderate to severe Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms keeping you from the action? Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, could help you get back to the game. Skyrizi is proven to help people feel significant symptom relief, achieve remission, and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine for adults. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's or ulcerative colitis.
Control is everything to me.
Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's and ulcerative colitis combined. Learn more at skyrizi.com or 1-866-SKYRIZI.
Inside Sources.
So the state has called its first witness in the case against Tyler Robinson. This is Spanish Fork Police Department officer Christopher Bagley, who at the time of the shooting at UVU was a police officer with Utah Valley University. He was the head investigator in this case. Let's go to his testimony for a few minutes.
This courtyard, this amphitheater.
It's kind of like an amphitheater look. So you got some grass and a couple of steps that go up. You got some cement on top with some bushes and flowers. You've got places where people can sit and eat. They come out and study and relax on the grass. And there's a waterfall with a little pond that comes down into a stream. So,
okay. Are you familiar with the surroundings, the buildings around the amphitheater?
Yes, I am.
Okay. In relationship to this amphitheater, this courtyard, where is the Hall of Flags located?
It would be directly west of the courtyard.
Okay. Is it part of the courtyard or is it just off of the courtyard?
It's kind of the courtyard. It like butts up right against the courtyard, so it would be the west side of the courtyard.
Okay, so to the west of the courtyard. Yes. Is there a walkway across the Hall of Flags?
There is.
Okay,
There's an inside one and an outside one.
Okay, so what is the Hall of Flags then?
The Hall of Flags is kind of like a bridge between two buildings that all the flags throughout the world are represented in there, with some chairs where people sit down and relax, with windows so you can see through all the way to the Utah Lake.
Okay. What are those two buildings that are connected by this Hall of Flags?
The Fugal building over to like the science building area.
Okay. So you mentioned the Fugal building.
Yes.
Where's the Fugal building located in relationship to this courtyard?
It's to the south of the courtyard.
Okay. Does it run up against the courtyard?
It does.
The building? Okay. What about the Woodbury Business Building? Where is that in relationship to the courtyard?
That's kind of southeast, and it runs up right against the courtyard also.
Okay. And in relationship to the Fugal building, where's that Sorensen? Or excuse me, that business building, the Woodbury Business
Woodbury
building.
Business is right directly east of the Fugal.
Okay. What about the Sorensen Center? Where is that located with respect to this courtyard?
The Sorensen Center is going to be kind of like a northeast of the courtyard.
Okay. Does it, again, run up against this courtyard?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So right now the state's sort of painting a picture, Holly, and going through what an officer observed, and it's giving everyone an idea of the sort of the layout of the land, where the buildings are, where people would have been, so that when he describes what they found and where, you can have a good picture of that. So we'll go to that testimony as it gets a little more sort of the fireworks of the testimony come about. But let's talk about Utah's fireworks when we right now.
That was smooth.
I thought so.
So, look, we know most Utahns heeded the governor's order restricting or banning personal fireworks. Thank you so much. But not everybody did.
Yeah, same with the BUIs and the DUIs. But with fireworks, some fire officials say that fireworks are to blame for several fires around the state. This is almost unbelievable over the weekend. And while some were really small and pretty well contained, they're frustrating because they were 100% preventable.
So one of the fires, and I was at the Stadium of Fire. So one of the things that happened during the Stadium of Fire is that there were fireworks responsible for a large fire near Slate Canyon in Provo, and we could see some of the lights, even it felt like, from the stadium. Maybe that's not what I was seeing, but it sure felt like that.
Yeah, Slate Canyon, I think, is on the southwest quadrant of Provo, the beautiful canyon up there on the hillside, and probably a very dangerous area, high fire danger area because it's so dry and there's a lot of brush up there. It's not well populated with homes or anything like that.
So it's on the east side, but there it said aerial fireworks started the fire. That was Provo Fire Captain Jeannie Atherton said Sunday morning. Provo fire crews arrived quickly, but they were set off not only in a fireworks restricted area, even under a normal year, but also under the citywide ban. And so people were up there shooting stuff off and they lit the canyon on fire. Luckily, it was able to be contained to 5 acres and they were able to put it out.
Yeah. Did I say west? I'm familiar with that area.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
It's okay.
There's a juvenile court up there. I've been there several times. It's called Slate Canyon.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's right.
Then at Tuacahn down in St. George, near St. George, the 4th of July fireworks were cut short after some trees caught fire during a show down there.
So this one was legal fireworks, I think, because it was a professional show. But yeah, they They set 3 different trees on fire. And so they had to stop the show. Not funny, but makes me laugh. There also was a fire up in Layton, I think, and it hit a Costa Vida. So fireworks hit the roof. It caused the roof to collapse. It's caused over $1 million in damage, if you can believe it or not.
And the owners are saying it's a near total loss. I mean, $1 million in damage to a restaurant is probably about as much you could get it to a total loss as you could imagine. But yeah, fireworks, that's the problem. It gets up on the roof of something. There's nobody up there, no fire prevention up there. There's no fountains or anything like that. And then once it starts burning in the roof, you're just in deep trouble.
So then there was another one that we know of, and this was up in Kaysville. This was a group of young adults, I would say being dumb. They were playing with fireworks, specifically bottle rockets. They were shooting them at each other, and they started a fire.
Which is lucky that they didn't shoot each other. I mean, those fireworks are hot, and they're coming at you fast. They could cause a lot more than just a fire, but that's bad. They actually had to evacuate some people.
I know. So they had to evacuate some homes. I mean,
really
come on.
Yeah.
The group left without calling 911. They're like, hurry, let's get away.
Let's get out of here. You know, we talked about all this. Don't drink and drive. Don't get in your boat and drive with alcohol in your system. Don't light fireworks. And no matter what we say, no matter what we do, people get out and do it anyway. It's like in the winter, we talk about avalanche danger. And you say, hey, don't go up in the backcountry this weekend. And then people do. And I understand Utah's beautiful. We have so much going on, and fireworks are so much a part of our system and our heritage, and maybe having a drink or two is part of what people think they can do. But, you know, just be responsible. And if you're going to have a drink, don't get behind the wheel of a car. If you're going to light fireworks, well, don't do it this year. It's just the fire hazard's so great. I almost wonder if some of this was just a protest because people were so upset.
I don't know
that the governor made that.
But you know where you could light fireworks that people had a lot of fun?
Where?
The Salt Flats.
Yeah, I guess.
They let people go light fireworks out there on the Salt Flats, and I understand that was quite fun.
There's nothing to burn out there. Yeah, there's
right?
If there's a sagebrush, it'd burn in a minute. That's
Look,
interesting. Yeah.
I just want to give you an update, and I don't think it's been updated yet this morning, but they're already, this season, now 405 fires burning over 350,000 acres in the state of Utah. And we have one fire that is 90,000 acres and 0% contained. That's the Babylon fire. And then we have the Cottonwood fire, which is 95,800 acres. That's 47% contained. Those are the number 1 and 2 fires in the entire country right now in Utah.
So you have to go back and ask yourself this. Looking back, do you think the governor made the right call in saying, let's just ban personal fireworks?
I do.
I mean, I really do. I think that notwithstanding that we still had problems, you can only imagine how it had been if he had not issued the order. I mean, that people had just had free reign of fireworks. And I understand the groups that raise money through these firework stands and the individuals who have some income based on that. I mean, my daughter used to do them every year when she was cheer at Murray High School. That's how they raised money, was working these firework stands. And it was a huge part of what they did. And I would have been heartbroken had this ban gone into effect that time. But you know, you have to look at the cost benefit, and you know, funding the team is one thing, but putting lives in danger and property in danger is far more significant.
So I know this ban only goes through, in fact, it only went through the 5th, but of course the question is there going to be another ban for Pioneer Day? I don't know. I think it depends. It'll depend on the weather, right? I mean, this coming weekend, hot, very hot, and very dry.
Yeah, 103, 105.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not cooling down, and it's not getting any wetter. So I would say this: we do have a problem in Utah, and it's not going to get better between now and Pioneer Day, in my opinion. I mean, we'll see, unless Matt Johnson's monsoonal moisture comes.
I know,
through, which
unless
would be
it comes
great.
in.
Right.
Unless it comes in. So one of the things, speaking of moisture, doesn't have anything to do with Utah, but my brother lives in Guam, and they have been under siege from a massive typhoon over there. It's just so interesting, right? Here we are in drought and wildfires, and there it's a Category 5, which is the largest, with sustained winds of 180 miles an hour, if you can believe it. So very different situation out in the Pacific.
I would say this. I was in Wayne County over the weekend. We have a little place down there in Torrey, and I did not perceive any fireworks. I didn't hear any. You know what I mean? Whatever the people were
Mhm.
doing down there, it seemed like it was pretty smart because that area is really dry. I mean,
Yeah.
we had that huge fire
yeah.
last year down there,
Yeah.
the Monroe Canyon fire that burned, part of the county and the neighboring counties. It was horrible. But people seem to be responsible this year, at least in the venues that I saw.
Well, I think having seen a wildfire up close and personal, right, I think that is pretty motivating because it's like I have personal experience. Like down there, you saw, right?
I also
know.
think your neighbors would have gone, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would have been pretty brazen to even pull fireworks out given what that area went through last year.
So overall, well done, Utah.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, boating under the influence, driving under the influence, and fireworks were all down, not as much as they could be, but down, and I think that's good. And I would say, if it worked, let's try it again on Pioneer Day. I know people aren't going to want to hear that, but let's see what it's like. Well, the next hour on Inside Sources, we're going to have a special hour for you today on peace building as we move on from America 250 of this weekend. What we can do to ensure a peaceful future for the United States for the next 250 years. Stay with us for this important conversation when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It is 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. Good morning, I'm Adam Small. To look at our top stories this hour. We have several fires still burning across the state this morning, and KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla has the latest.
Crews have made a lot of progress over the past week. The Iron Fire and Bonneville Fire are now fully contained. The Snyder Fire is almost there at 93% containment, but the Cottonwood and Wild Goose are still burning. The Cottonwood's at 95,000 acres and is almost halfway contained. The Wild Goose Fire is much smaller at 12,000 acres, but that's about 53% contained. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
Salt Lake City just had its first 100-degree day of the summer, and more are on the way later this week. And few people know more about working in the blazing heat than UPS drivers, and one postman shared his tips after 23 years behind the wheel. 49-year-old Joel Reyes told the Wall Street Journal that beyond water and air conditioning, his number one tip is investing in high-tech wearables like water-activated cooling towels and a cooling baseball cap you can keep on ice. Reyes also says that what you eat is essential for keeping cool. He says that you should steer clear of anything too greasy and says pickles are the way to go for him. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump rang a golden bell in the Oval Office this morning to open the trading day at the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ and celebrated the start of what's called the Trump Accounts for Kids.
Parents, loved ones, churches, and generous companies and individuals will be able to contribute funds to these accounts to grow throughout the child's life.
The accounts are custodial IRAs for U.S. children under 18 and feature a $1,000 pilot contribution from the U.S. Treasury for eligible children. And your money at this moment, the Dow is currently slightly down 53 points. The S&P is up 51, and the NASDAQ is up 351. Coming up, you're going to see more 90-degree heat for much of the week, but triple digits are right around the corner. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Massive data centers are taking over entire communities, and Utah could be next. KSL investigator Daniela Rivera goes inside the data center capital of the world to hear what residents wish they had known sooner. Beyond Box Elder, tonight at 10. Saddle up for your chance to watch some Bronc Bust in action at the Days of 47 Rodeo, July 21st. Visit KSL.com/contest and enter to win a family 6-pack of tickets. Winners will be announced daily on KSL's Facebook page.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet Arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa.
actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
This is Colin Keary from the New Millennium Group. Have you ever had a question for your financial advisor only to find out that the next available appointment is months away? At New Millennium Group, we believe that financial advice should never be limited to once-a-year review meetings. Life happens every single day. Markets change, retirement questions come up, family situations evolve, and when they do, you deserve answers. That's why we pride ourselves at the New Millennium Group on being accessible when our clients need us most. Whether you're wondering about your investments or a major life decision, our team is here to help provide guidance. We're not interested in being the firm you hear from once a year. We want to be your trusted resource throughout your entire retirement journey. If you're looking for a financial team that values relationships, communication, and responsiveness, we'd love to meet you. Give us a call today at 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370, or visit us at utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Get ready for bigger action, faster rides, and edge-of-your-seat thrills. The Ute Stampede Rodeo and Extreme Bulls returning to Utah, July 8th through 11th. See elite athletes compete in PRCA rodeo showmanship with some of sport's biggest payouts. Buckle up for Extreme Bulls, delivering Utah's ultimate showdown. New dates, bigger crowds, limited tickets. Don't miss it. Secure yours now at UtestampedeRodeo.com. That's UtestampedeRodeo.com.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by UCCU. Auto loan rates as low as 4.74% APR. Here's Cormac Bone.
We do have some delays eastbound on I-215 South Belt approaching I-15 at the South Interchange. That's due to a crash, and they were blocking the left lane. Looks like they might still be, but they're opening it up soon because they've moved vehicles over and out of the right lane there. So there's some light delays as you approach the South Interchange on I-215 eastbound. I-15 itself, though, running clean and clear. No delays between Ogden and Provo. Though down in Payson, we do still have this crash at 800 South. And it looks like they're out of traffic and in the left shoulder. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Partly cloudy today with a chance of an afternoon thunderstorm. Look for a high of 97 degrees in Salt Lake City. We're expected to stay in the mid to upper 90s until Friday, when we're expected to hit 100 degrees. Expected to stay at 100 or above for several days this weekend. Right now, it is currently 84 degrees and partly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So I am really excited about this next hour because I feel like the topic of peace building and conflict resolution is so important. So I think one of the ultimate goals of humanity is peace. We talk about it, we pray for it, we hope to promote peace, but when push comes to shove, I think sometimes we forget peace and we just push it to the side.
That's true. And as we just move on from the weekend celebrating America's 250th birthday, we want to spend some time talking about the importance of peace, how we can actually work towards peace so that we can survive as a country for another 250 years.
So over the next hour, we're going to really dive into peace building, but I also wanted this opportunity to focus on what that looks like from different cultures, different lenses. How do we learn from each other when it comes to the topic of peace?
Let's start with a discussion of peace among religions.
So we're joined today by Chad Ford, an associate professor of religious studies at Utah State University, and he has a very long history of peace building. So welcome to our show, Professor Ford.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited that you're tackling this topic.
Well, first of all, I have to say I'm a big fangirl of yours. I've read your books multiple times. So congratulations on having a true convert here. So I want to start just by asking a simple, not simple question. How do you define peace? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, and it's interesting that I think my definition is constantly in flux and changing as I've worked as a conflict mediator and worked in so many different settings. But if I were to describe it right now, I would say, first of all, peace is not the absence of conflict. It's the courageous work of transforming conflict into deeper connection, building, repairing, and preserving a sense of a shared us.
As religions consider peace, Professor, is it fairly consistent across the board, or do different religions look at it differently?
They definitely look at it differently, though I think every religion tackles this topic and really is trying to address what that looks like. Some religions are focused more on the inner sense of peace, some are more focused on the relational sense of peace, some focus more directly on the structural sense of peace, of living together and what it looks like in our communities. And I think all religions focus on all three. But I think different religions may put a different emphasis on where our primary work should be as people.
So one of my questions just fundamentally is, where do we start? So say we're not conflict mediators, we're normal people living normal lives. Where do we start?
You start at home, and you start in the closest relationships that you have to you. In fact, I think one of the challenges that so many people face is they look at these huge conflicts that are happening in the world and politics in the world, and they say, who am I to be able to do anything about that? And what they often don't want to look at are the conflicts that are happening inside the walls of their home, the conflicts that are happening in the organizations that they're working at, and the communities or congregations where they're at. And I actually think that that is always the right way to start. I am an international mediator. I do sometimes work in the Middle East with Israelis and Palestinians. And even when we're there, we start with the interpersonal. And for some people, it's really important to start with the intrapersonal, right? If I can't be at peace with myself, I'm going to have a really difficult time taking that next step. And so you want to end political polarization in our country. The first thing you need to do is figure out how to do conflict better with the people that are closest to you that you disagree with.
You know, it's interesting that you talk about political conflicts and we're talking about religion, because for me, and I may get in trouble for saying this, from the outside looking in, it does seem, and you mentioned the Middle East, that as to me, that's one example of religion almost creating the absence of peace. And again, I'm trying to be careful here, but there's so much conflict among religions, it seems.
There's always that paradox, right? That religions teach us how to find harmony and peace and live and work with each other. And sometimes they invite us to be self-righteous or to think that our group or our tribe has the only truth, and that other groups are out there are a enemy to us. And it's really interesting that in every religious tradition, you're going to find both of those threads. I actually teach a course at USU on religion, violence, and peace.
Yeah.
And it's so hard at times for us to grapple with that these same religious traditions can invite us into, I think, some of the best practices in peacemaking that have ever been invented in the world, and can invite us to hate and to kill and destroy. And so, part of my job, I do a lot of work with religious groups, is getting them to look at those texts and try to actually find out where the values really are. Because in almost all of the violence types of invitations that we get from a religious perspective, they come out of a space of fear. They come out of a space of threat. They come out of a space of our identity is being taken from us, and it's really important to preserve it. It comes from an idea that God is there to protect us and will justify what we do, and really moving to an understanding of sanctification in every religion about what it means to be holy, what it means to be right or to be spiritual, because almost all of those things point us towards peacemaking, not towards war making. But you're absolutely right, and this is one of our real challenges, Greg, that I've been really tackling at Utah State the last couple of years is the conflicts that are happening inside our congregations, not between religious groups, but inside our own congregations, are part of the fuel of the polarization in America and that are happening around the world. And often pastors and priests and imams and rabbis and LDS bishops aren't really equipped to know what to do with that inside their own congregations. And so we start separating and building walls and deciding who we're going to associate with, and we start living in bubbles that exacerbate the conflict. And I don't think it's a surprise anymore to say that research has shown that our political lenses are now dictating our religious beliefs, as opposed to where I think for a long time you would say it would have been the reverse.
Fascinating. I just have a final question because our time goes so quickly. My question is this. So if I'm in a congregation and I feel like my neighbor is wrong because of their viewpoint, how do I get out of myself and be able to have a conversation with them when I feel justified in my position because I'm the one who's right?
Yeah, I think that's the interesting point. I think, Holly, you nailed the approach, right? I'm right. And especially in religious congregations, sometimes because I'm right, my job is to convert the other person to my way of thinking. And I actually think that what it really requires, which is sometimes seems, again, paradoxical to religious belief, is curiosity. It's someone else is coming at this from a really different perspective. They're reading that religious text really differently. They see Jesus in a way that I can't see them at all. And that we start practicing curiosity and asking questions and recognizing that most people are driven by life experience. Most people are driven by a sense of trauma or fear or where something has been taken from them in the past. And we really start to deeply listen. And there's this line that I really love from Donna Hicks, who I think is one of the just incredible peacemakers. She's written a book called Dignity. And it says that the glue that holds all of our relationships together is the mutual recognition of the desire to be seen, heard, listened to, and treated fairly, to be recognized, understood, and to feel safe in the world. So listen, see them, treat them fairly, try to understand them, and recognize that that's often what we're looking for in conflict. And so we should be giving that whenever we come across someone who thinks or believes really differently than we do.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Professor Chad Ford, who teaches at Utah State University. And up next on Inside Sources, we're going to look at peace building through a Pacific Islander lens. Stay with us.
Hey, Holiday, New York just got a whole lot closer. Magnolia Bakery, New York's famous bakery since 1996, is now open in Holiday Hills. Craving something iconic? Step into a true neighborhood bakery experience using simple, high-quality ingredients to create baked fresh daily American classics, including the world-famous banana pudding, cupcakes, cakes, cheesecakes, and more. Magnolia Bakery is known around the world. It's the taste of New York, served fresh and locally owned and operated right here in Utah, bringing that legendary charm home to Holiday Hills. It's more than just a delicious dessert stop. It's worth the visit. You've seen Magnolia Bakery on Saturday Night Live and more. Now it's your turn to see what the buzz is all about. Find the authentic Big Apple sweetness at 1895 East Rodeo Walk Drive in Holiday, where the Cottonwood Mall used to be. Open every day, including Sunday. Magnolia Bakery in Holiday Hills, where every day deserves dessert. A New York City bite without the flight.
This is Nate Orchard from Advanced Window Products. When you live in Utah, your windows do a lot more than let the light in. They protect your home from freezing winters, blazing summers, and everything in between. That's why Advanced Window Products builds every window for your local climate. No middleman, no out-of-state delays, just factory direct quality, custom made for your home. Imagine a quieter home, a warmer home, a cooler home. Our high-efficiency vinyl windows are engineered to lower your energy bills and boost your comfort all year round. And installation is done by our own certified in-house crews, never subcontractors. That's why Utah homeowners give us 5-star reviews. Right now, take advantage of our anniversary sale. For a limited time, get $2,500 off when you buy 10 or more windows. Call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100. For 40 years, Advanced Window Products has been the name Utah trusts for custom replacement windows and sliding glass doors. Advanced Window Products, built here, installed here, trusted here. Call 801-850-9100 for that $2,500 off or visit us at advancedwindows.com to schedule your free in-home estimate.
Jane is a small business owner.
That's right.
And tell them what that's like, Jane.
Yeah, well, it's like a roller coaster with a lot of ups and downs, and some days things can feel like they're flying off the rails.
Yep, it's a lot. But the Total Solutions Advantage only from Comcast Business can help you manage it all. With the largest, fastest fiber-powered network designed for 100% reliability with business internet and wireless connect. Plus gig speeds with security and equipment included. All with a 5-year price lock.
Nice. So everything stays on track.
Exactly. The Total Solutions Advantage. Get started for just $60 a month for 12 months when you add wireless connect to a qualifying internet package. No one does business like Comcast Business.
Limited time offer. Restrictions apply. New customers only. 1-year agreement, paperless billing, and automatic payments with bank account required. $60 offer requires 300 meg internet, security edge, and additional qualifying service. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra.
With Progressive's Name Your Price tool, you can choose the best coverage option for you. Because you know you. Like, you know that hiking isn't for you. Sure, it sounds nice to be in nature while exercising, but that's what a gym and houseplants are for. I mean, you don't even like walking upstairs. So why would you walk up a hill for miles? To what, end up high in the air? Come on, you know you're scared of heights. Only you know you. So get coverage options within your budget with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Pricing coverage match limited by state law.
And Doug. Limu and I created a trick to help you remember that you can customize your car insurance and save with Liberty Mutual. You see, the shirts Limu and I wear are yellow, and yellow is the color of lemons, and lemons grow on trees, and trees provide oxygen, and oxygen helps us breathe, and breathing is how you live, and you can live more life when you save money by customizing your car insurance. I agree, Limu. It's really quite simple. Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty. Any Hour Services can help unclog any drain in your house, whether you have a backup, a clog, or a slow drain you want fixed. Call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Okay, I really like that first segment. I wish we could have spent more time with him, but the religious aspect of peace building was fascinating to me, and you had some insight with that particular guest as well, for having read his books, but just really a great start to this segment.
I just think it's so important to have conversations about peace building, and we know that peace isn't just the absence of conflict. In fact, I'm going to talk to our next guest about a post he just barely made. But I really wanted to look at peace building and conflict resolution through different lenses, because when it comes to a peace process, sometimes we think it only looks one way, and that's just not the case. So we have with us today Dr. Michael Lingalinga, assistant professor and program lead of intercultural peace building at BYU Hawaii. And he and I have been connected on LinkedIn for a while. I have just loved to read what he has been posting about a book that he's writing on Pacific Islander peace building. And I just want to start with this, Dr. Lingalinga. So thanks for joining us, first of all.
Appreciate the opportunity.
So I wanted to start with something that you just posted on LinkedIn, and you say this: we keep mistaking agreement for peace. A community signs off on a peace process, everyone claps, the funders write their reports, and 6 months later, the same fault lines reopen because what was achieved was compliance and not holding. So tell us, how do you define peace?
Well, I think, from a I guess an Indigenous and a Pacific's perspective, peace is understood as heavily grounded in relationships. And I think, just with that post that I did this morning, I think the peace building as an industry has kind of taught us to kind of think that what peace looks like. And oftentimes when violence is absent, peace has been achieved. But from an Indigenous peacebuilding perspective, there's no such thing as anything that's been completed, because when we think about relationships, especially from a Pacific Islands perspective, nothing, even relationships are even severed. You continue to exist even after, for example, from a Western's perspective, the peace process has been settled. And so it's never ending. There's a constant sort of custodianship and a stewardship towards that relationship, because it's never severed. And that kind of ties into a lot of our beliefs as Pacific Islanders.
So, Professor Lingaliga, what do some of our political leaders lack then when they say we've got a ceasefire in effect, we've got a treaty, when there's still some level of hostility? What more should be done? I know that's maybe a very broad question that we're not doing.
Well, one of the things that the whole premise of the book that I'm writing is to provide an alternative way to see peace and conflict. This is not something that that's solely mine. It's been practiced, and it's existed within the sort of Pacific cultures for thousands of years, and I've just provided a language to my area of interest, which is peace and conflict. And one of the concerns that I have, and I've raised it a couple of times in my book, is what I've kind of named as ethical impatience. And oftentimes when we see a problem, the first thing that we do is intervene. And even though sometimes the right behavior doesn't necessarily equate to the best solutions. And so one of the things, especially as Pacific Islanders, is even before intervention, we need to kind of read the room, read the relational space, what has been ruptured, what wasn't been able to be sustained, even before an initial response is implemented. And to me, a lot of these ceasefires, those are a lot of our default response, to kind of quickly do things urgently. What VAR does, and that's kind of like the foundational principle, is for us to actually slow down. And I know that kind of goes against the grain when we look at sort of the political landscape that we're in right now, where many governments, work within a 4 to 6 year cycle. But for us to really have transformational change, especially when we're dealing with people's lives, sometimes the most ethical thing to do is to stop, pause, and read what's in front of us, because what's in front of us will determine the type of intervention that we need to employ.
So I have a question about where we start. So if we're not professional mediators, we're not part of, these really big, inter-country solutions, but we all deal with conflict. Where do we as individuals, where do we start with maybe even the relationship?
Yeah, so even the way that relationships have been now been languaged, there's this sort of new, very the way that it's been framing now. It's the space between. That's kind of like what everyone's talking about. But even that sort of framing, I have a little bit of reservation, because it still implies that there's distance, that the space. Which means that there's an us versus them sort of environment. And one of the things that I, wanted to kind of have people think about is that in every facet of life, you are tied to some kind of relationship. And each relationship is governed by some sort of weight. And if we understand that sort of social sort of weight that comes with that relational space, it should determine the way we behave. So, for example, the relationships that we have at home are very different to the relationships that we might have at church or at work and those sort of things. And because they're different, it should influence the way that we behave, right? So the way that we behave at home is very different to the way that we behave at work and behave in certain spaces. When conflict tends to happen when we misread those relational spaces, and especially the responsibilities and obligations that come with those different contexts. So one of the things that I try to advocate and try to teach people who are not really familiar with sort of Pacific worldviews is try and see those relational networks that they belong to, and how does that influence the way that you behave towards other people? Because at the end of the day, we are a part of a very complex social network as human beings.
How do you teach what it means and how you perceive what you called read what's in front of us? Because I can understand stop and pause, and I think that a lot of our political leaders understand that as well, but they seem to end there. And I'm just wondering, how you can help people understand read what's in front of us then takes us to.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important question, especially in the sort of social and political landscape that we're living in right now, where everything's so rushed, everything is sort of like helter skelter. There's an exercise that I do with people where we actually map out the relationships that we have, and one of the things that I teach people is that we have immediate relationships, we have extended relationships, and wider relationships. And the fact that you can actually map it out really brings to, it actually surprises a lot of people who are in your immediate circle. So these are the people that when you wake up in the morning, these are the people that are first on your mind. And then the next question I have once people identify is, what are the current circumstances that you're doing to nurture those relationships, or what are the things that are contributing to the rupture or the conflicts in those relationships? And I find that people, because everyone's so busy with life, have never had the opportunity to really identify what those dynamics are. And so we start with those immediate circles first, because once we understand those, it really influences those extended and wider circles that we're a part of. And then we start talking about what are the mechanisms that you need to do to nurture, to maintain, to sustain, to embrace conflict. Because I think, as Holly was saying, conflict is that's a part of life, right? We can't treat it as or respond to it when conflict happens. We need to be in a space where it's normal, right? It's a part of life. And my concern, as always, when I work in organizations, universities, is that we tend not to talk about conflict until conflict happens. And to me, that's hugely problematic.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Professor. That was Michael Lingalinga, Assistant Professor and Program Lead of the Intercultural Peace Building at BYU Hawaii. And when we come back, let's continue our deep dive into peace building and get a perspective on how the Shoshone tribe works toward peace. Stay with us.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Adam Small. We'll look at our top stories this half hour. Happening right now, the 23-year-old man accused of killing Charlie Kirk is in court for his preliminary hearing.
The 5-day preliminary hearing will be an opportunity for the prosecution to lay out their case against Tyler Robinson in the death of political influencer Charlie Kirk. The Associated Press says it's expected that Kirk's parents will be present alongside his widow, Erica.
There aren't a lot of really complex expert witnesses or complicated legal theories. It's a fairly straightforward case of who did it.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas says it's unusual that a preliminary hearing should last this long. We'll have full coverage of this hearing all week right here on KSL News Radio. Cameron Elliott, KSL News Radio.
In our top national story this hour from ABC News, the World Cup has been a bonanza not only for North American cities hosting the matches, but for gambling companies.
Kalshi, the biggest of the prediction markets, saw more than $31 billion in volume in June, compared with $18 billion in May. Dune Analytics says that since the beginning of World Cup competition, Kalshi has handled $1 billion a day. Polymarket, which watched its volume fall in April and May, saw trading of $10.8 billion in June. By the way, France is Kalshi's odds-on favorite to win the 2026 World Cup. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is currently down 38 points. It's down to 52,866. The S&P is currently up 50, and the NASDAQ is up 339. Coming up, we got upper 90s for the next several days, but we're going to be getting back above 100 very soon. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
You're in charge of ordering boxes. Small boxes, big boxes, really big boxes. You're in charge of tape, labels, mailers, bubble wrap, extra bubble wrap, just for fun. You're in charge of warehouse cleaning and safety supplies. Good thing there's Uline. Thousands of quality products for your business and warehouse needs, always in stock, ready to ship same day, and backed by Uline's legendary 24/7 customer service. Uline makes it easy because you already do enough. Uline, we warehouse
for you.
As we celebrate America 250, KSL presents Utah Cornerstones, honoring the businesses that built our past and continue to shape our future.
Some businesses sell products, others become part of a community's legacy. Since 1948, Duke's Jewelers has been a trusted part of Springville and Utah families' most meaningful moments. That's 80 years of meaningful craftsmanship, founded by J. Melvin Duke. The tradition continues today under fourth-generation owner Kimberly Narupe, who quite literally grew up in the family shop. She has a fresh perspective and deep respect for tradition. Guided by values of care, honesty, and exceptional craftsmanship, Duke's Jewelers creates pieces designed to last a lifetime because every design begins with a story. Since Duke's is a family-owned store with lower overhead, they can offer better diamonds and craftsmanship at a better price. Learn more about this Utah Cornerstone at dukesjewelers.com.
Utah Cornerstones on KSL News Radio.
Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
I'm Maria Chaleos here with Bonnie from Salt Lake City Fat Loss.
Yeah, good to be here. Thanks.
Tell us why the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program is preferred versus other weight loss programs that offer pills or injections.
Our program is the #1 natural alternative to drugs or injections, and for those who want to lose fat and not muscle. People are spending hundreds of dollars on these injections that are giving them slower weight loss, where our program is a fraction of the cost and they're losing twice the amount of weight.
Can people lose weight fast on your program?
Most of our clients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two, but the biggest thing is they're learning the skills to keep the weight off.
What are some things that set your program apart from other weight loss programs?
It's very easy to follow, and we use regular grocery store foods. There's no heavy exercising required, and you get a personal health coach to help you every step of the way.
I chose the Salt Lake City Fat Loss program along with over 70,000 people from across the U.S. Schedule your free consultation online at slcfatloss.com.
Traffic and weather together is brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
We don't have any major delays all across the Wasatch Front. In fact, even some of the city streets looking lighter than normal. Eastbound Pioneer Crossing in 2100 North in Lehigh, a little slow as you approach I-15. We do have a couple of crashes still, though. Eastbound on 215 South Belt approaching I-15, there is a crash in the right shoulder. Not in the lane, so not causing any delays there. And then down in Payson on I-15, southbound just after, well, this is at 800 South. They're in the left shoulder as well, causing a little bit of delay as you pass that exit, but otherwise looking really good all across the Wasatch Front. I'm Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Look for a high of 97 today with a chance for an isolated thunderstorm today and tomorrow. Stay in the mid to upper 90s until Friday when we're expected to break the 100-degree mark again. It could be upwards of 105 by Sunday. Right now it's 88 degrees and partly cloudy in downtown Salt Lake City. I'm Adam Small from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So we're talking peace building and conflict resolution through different lenses. And so we started with religion. And then we went to Pacific Islander and indigenous wisdom that way. And I'm excited about our next guest.
Oh, and I wish that we had more time for each of our guests so far, but you've done an outstanding job at getting some people to join us this morning.
I just love it. I love this conversation. And look, I got a PhD 4 years ago in political science, but as I was finishing those studies, I was really coming across a lot of information about peace building and conflict resolution. And if I ever did a second PhD, that's what I would try to get it in, because it's so important. So we have with us in studio Darren Perry. He's the former chairman of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation. Thanks for joining us, my friend.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So I wanted to start by asking you about, I went to a thing that you did at a friend's home, and you were talking about conflict, and you were talking about looking at it through an indigenous lens. And one of the things that you talked about that actually our previous guests have talked about also is how resolution to conflict is about relationships and restoring relationships. And I wonder if we could just start there.
Yeah, I'd love to start there because I believe that's where it starts. I think a lot of times we look at conflict resolution as reactionary. Something's happened. Now we're in this peace-building mode where we have to deal with conflict. But what if we turned it around and worked on relationships? And by that I mean, my grandmother said, look at everything in the world as a relative. Plants, animals, rocks, our enemies, other people. Mm-hmm. What if we considered them a relative? How would that change our relationship with them? I think we all know the answer to that and what that would be. You treat it with much more respect and kindness, first of all, right out of the chute. But that relationship and preventing conflict would be, I think, the way to go. And I think if we boiled it down to that, we could absolutely do that. My grandmother would always tell me that if your heart is noisy, you can't hear the earth. Mm. But if you can't hear the earth, you can't hear each other. And so I think all of that work, the work we do in the environment and the work we do in our human relationships are all connected.
Talk to us about how you can convey that. I mean, it sounds like such a wonderful idea, but the idea of relationships to me, I think, is so genius. It's so thought-provoking. But how do you get that message across?
I think the biggest way, and nobody will ever have thought of this, and we talked about it in that workshop, is listening. Mm-hmm. Listening to understand and not to respond. And I mean, everybody listening today, think about it. When you're in a conversation with somebody, the very first thing we do is we're listening, but we're crafting our response in our head. Mm-hmm. And we all do it. I mean, I've done it listening to Greg just now. I'm thinking about my response. But what if we listen to understand? Yeah. I think that changes the whole dynamic of our communication with each other, and especially with those that we may have a conflict or a problem with, because true listening to understand somebody, I think, really gets to the heart, and then we're really hearing what the problem is before we even start to solve it. I don't think we try to solve it. I think we just try to listen to understand and come from a different angle that allows us to be much more empathetic about a situation. And so I think listening sounds so simple, but I think it's the key to all of it, really. And we don't do that. None of us do that.
Well, we certainly don't do it well. So I have a question. Just what does peace look like to you in indigenous cultures? How do you even define it?
Now, not sure how I would define it, but I would say peace is not the absence of conflict. Mm-hmm. I think, generally speaking, conflict isn't a bad thing. But what conflict reveals is that something is out of balance. And I had a wonderful elder out on the Goshute Reservation, Rupert Steele. He's no longer with us, but he always talked about living in balance in your life. And if there's a problem, it's not that there's such a problem. It means something in our life is out of balance, or something in somebody else's life is out of balance. So the work should be not to really solve a conflict, the work or establish peace. The work is to find out what is out of balance and then fix it. And that would lead to peace. I think peace, we're always as human beings going to have some kind of conflict in our life. And I think we would all love to live in a world where we never have an issue with anybody. I don't know if that's realistic, but I think the goal of living in balance and making sure we're taking care of the things that we can take care of, and absolutely listening to people will get us closer to that peace goal than anything else we do.
And it seems like a lot of our political leaders right now in this country, Darren, and in the world, find what they call peace by writing a treaty or something, but they don't deal with that out of balance part of the underlying problem.
Yeah.
It just seems like we're missing that.
And I think it goes back to listening, though. I think if we truly listen to understand and feel empathy for another group and hear them, absolutely hear them, and then work together to fix it, I think then the world changes. But man, we're so stuck in this us versus them, and I don't know. It's a tough world right now, and but I do see hope on the horizon. I see people wanting to make changes, and especially, I teach at a university, and I think our students are concerned about their future, but not so much that it paralyzes them. And so I've always tried to give them just mechanisms to help them navigate some of these problems. And when you start looking at something out of balance versus a problem to be solved, then I think it changes the whole parameter of what we're trying to do.
Thank you so much for joining us. I wish we had more time.
I agree.
Yeah, that was Darren Perry, former chairman of the Northwestern Band of the Shoshone Nation. And when we come back, we're going to finish up our special hour on peace building by talking about peace in the Middle East and how cultures in the Middle East view this concept of peace. Stay with us.
Most people prefer a local company. That's why you're seeing more and more Big League Lawns on your street. We hear it all the time. My neighbor uses you guys, and their lawn looks amazing. Thicker, greener, just better. Big League Lawns started right here in Utah 10 years ago, and it didn't take long for people to notice. Along the way, they've left more than 1,600 five-star reviews talking about it. Big League Lawns, built right here, chosen every day.
Mosquitoes were out before the grill was even hot. You lit the torches, sprayed the kids, swatted through dinner, and the mosquitoes still won. Call Skeeter Eater, a Utah company built for backyard living. Our family-friendly treatments and smart mosquito traps keep the fun going long after sunset. Get $40 off your first treatment now at SkeeterEater.com. Skeeter Eater. Stop the bites. Start the fun.
There's nothing better than getting outside with the people you love. And in Utah, we have endless ways to stay active and healthy outdoors. But staying healthy also means staying safe. Intermountain Health recommends that you wear the right gear, stay hydrated, protect your skin, and plan ahead before you go. Know your limits and choose activities that keep it safe and fun for everyone. Because when you make health and safety a part of every adventure, you're taking care of what matters most, your life, your health.
Is your financial advisor managing your risk or just a spreadsheet? Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. Many financial advisors rely on target date funds, which are one-size-fits-all portfolios that don't know your name, your family, or your goals. And that passive management can leave you dangerously exposed. At Trajan, we look at the whole picture, not just the stocks everyone else buys, but the private market opportunities most advisors ignore. And as fiduciaries, we build a strategy around you, coordinating your investments, tax strategy, and estate into one cohesive plan. Your financial life deserves more than just a generic portfolio. Real planning isn't a stack of statements. It's the confidence of knowing where your income will come from for the next 30 years. Good enough isn't good enough for your family. It's time for a change. Schedule your complimentary consultation today. Call 855-TRAJAN-1. That's 855-TRAJAN-1.
Advisory services through Trajan Wealth, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Private equity investments require accreditation. Other services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures at TrajanWealth.com.
Are you an adult with uncontrolled moderate to severe Crohn's disease symptoms and still packing a backup bag of clothes? Just in case, Skyrizi Risankizumab Riza can help you take control of your Crohn's. Feel significant symptom relief, including less abdominal pain and fewer bowel movements at 4 weeks. Plus, Skyrizi is proven to help people achieve remission and visibly improve damage of the intestinal lining. Individual results may vary. Skyrizi is a prescription injection medicine. Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines. Liver problems leading to hospitalization may occur when treated for Crohn's. Ready to take control of your Crohn's? Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 prescribed biologic in Crohn's disease.
Control is everything to me.
Learn more at skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life, but you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, a gripping new podcast about a serial killer you've probably never heard of, Warren Forrest.
If he had dumped 2, you would have thought maybe there's another one.
But now a witness identified in the podcast could lead investigators to Jamie Grissom. Binge Stolen Voices of Dole Valley wherever you get your podcasts and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the latest breaking news in the case.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
Well, this has been an interesting hour so far, and I can't wait to bring our next guest in. But just having these different perspectives on peace and peacemaking from different lenses, like you talk about, I don't know how else to describe it, has just been very, very interesting for me.
So I've loved this conversation, and I hope we'll have an opportunity to expand these types of conversations because they're so important, right? And I think the bottom line is we have to start at home. But I do want to bring in our next guest to talk about, of course, some of the current conflicts, and they're so big. So we have with us again Dr. Austin Neppe, director of the Haravy Peace Institute at Utah State University. Thanks for joining us again, Dr. Neppe.
Thanks for having me back.
We have had such a fun and insightful conversation so far today. We talked with Chad Ford. We talked with Michael Lingalinga from BYU Hawaii, and we just barely talked with Darren Perry. And now we have an opportunity to ask you the same question we asked them. First of all, how do you define peace?
Wow, you start with an easy one.
Yes.
Yeah, so I tend to think about peace as not a binary, either peace or conflict, but existing along a spectrum. So it's a variable. There are negative forms of peace, which are the absence of conflict. So in a lot of places, think about places I do research in Syria, Iraq, there are stable, there's the absence of violence. We call that negative peace, or kind of a bare minimum or baseline. Positive peace, the other side of that spectrum or variable would be not merely the absence of violence, but the presence of factors in politics, economy, and society that lead people to flourish. So you have human flourishing on the far end, the quintessential example, positive peace, and violent conflict, really destructive, wide-scale violent conflict is the negative side of the other part of the spectrum.
What needs to be done more, and I know this is an equally painful question probably, with respect to what's happening internationally, especially in the Middle East, to get an understanding among groups as to what peace is other than just, say, a ceasefire.
That doesn't even hold.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think in the Middle East context, it depends on what level of conflict you're talking about. We spent a lot of time on this program over the last few months talking about great power conflict between the U.S. and Israel and Iran. But conflict, of course, scales not only from the level of great powers, but also the level of interpersonal or individual conflicts. And I think, in my experience, friends and colleagues that do this work in places like Iraq and Syria, at the level of interpersonal conflict resolution, there are some modest signs for hope. The people in the aftermath of conflict are figuring out how to coexist in ways that provide for their basic needs, security, jobs, housing, food, things like that, while also figuring out how to navigate post-conflict reality. So really, to answer that question, you have to tell me which conflict are you talking about and what level of analysis do you want me to address? The interpersonal all the way up to the international. There's different methods, approaches, and strategies depending on what level you want me to address.
So you sound like a professor, which you are.
Yes.
So
I don't know if that's a pejorative thing or a good thing.
no,
But
it's not. It's a compliment. I want you. I like all of those things, but I really would like you to talk about the interpersonal level. I think largely because most of us will never be international conflict mediators. We'll never be involved in those high level discussions, but we are involved in conflict probably every day or almost every day on a personal level. How do we start?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it requires us to become people that develop the disposition of a peacemaker. It's a question of inner character as much as it is outward behaviors. So there's a whole cottage industry, and there's a lot of great books, podcast speakers that talk about behavior changing your habits, cognitive behavioral therapy, all those things. They're helpful. I've benefited from them quite a bit. But there's also a question of how do we develop the moral character of a peace builder? And so I think the first place to start is to think of 3 different domains in our lives. We have our moral imagination, our values, the things that inform how we view the world, our character. We have our head knowledge, the things that we understand about conflict and peace and why they happen. And then we have practices. What are the practical ways that we manage conflict or the conflict styles we engage in? Are those healthy or unhealthy? Which ones are productive, pro-social versus anti-social? And it's a question of, I think for most of us, if we wanted to develop the disposition of a peace builder, we have to learn what those things are. We have to practice those peace building skills, and it helps to teach them to someone else. So learn, practice, and teach.
I have a follow-up question that's related. So I feel like it's really easy to get defensive, right? If we feel like our worldview is correct, yours is wrong, right? And so I have to defend myself. So what is one practice that we could start today that says, look, I'm going to hold space. Maybe that's the practice, right? But what is one thing that we can do to stop that knee-jerk reaction of getting defensive?
That's a great one. So a very practical one that I model to students and I kind of teach them on day one is to shift mindsets from one of judgment or evaluation, switch from the analysis part of your brain to the curiosity part. That curiosity spurs some creativity. It helps kind of relax our internal nerves, helps with emotional regulation, especially in conflict, where a lot of us get anxious. We get this really tight feeling in our stomach. Our body doesn't like what happens in conflict. But switching from that analysis or judgment mode to curiosity is great. So one example could be talking to a student or colleague, as opposed to saying, how could you believe election X, Y, and Z was stolen? Instead of framing it that way, you could say, how did you come to believe that the last presidential election was decided unfairly? That's inviting someone not to defend a position, but to share a story. Very simple, kind of basic. It's not like a code switching thing, but kind of a basic way of rewiring your brain to get in curiosity mode as opposed to analysis mode.
What are we doing wrong in relation to the Middle East? Because nothing seems to be, I know this could maybe go on for hours, but we negotiate things sort of haphazardly, quickly, but the underlying problems are so deep. I just wonder, Professor Nuppy, if there is a solution there.
Is there a solution there?
I mean, can you ever bridge the divide? I don't know.
Yeah, I could speak to the element of U.S. foreign policy.
Yeah.
I think engaging in the region in a way that the key stakeholders feel some agency and responsibility in deciding political settlements, economic relations, stuff in the Gulf are all important. And so I think the U.S. has some really strong partnerships in that region, Israel included. I think that it's in the U.S. national interest and the interest of those partners to really condition our engagement on some key national interests and values that are not based on personalism or whatever leaders in power getting personal benefit from those deals. Right now, I think we have a U.S. foreign policy posture that's very transactional. It's charismatic. It's personality driven. There's some benefits to that. Sometimes it's easier to secure a deal when you have a charismatic leader that can actually negotiate that. We're seeing a lot of the downsides of that now. And so I think vis-a-vis Iran, a successful settlement sets clear terms of engagement, and it finds areas of mutual concern where the Iranians can come to the table with some guarantee that the Americans or the Gulf states or the Israelis won't try to overthrow the regime the next week after the peace settlement is signed. And so a deal to get the Strait back open. I think the days of free transit through the Strait of Hormuz are gone. I think either the Iranians or the Gulf states or some combination have figured out they can control the export of oil and gas and charge for that. That's the new reality. With respect to Israel, I think the U.S. line with Tel Aviv in the last 25 years since the collapse of Oslo is military solutions that make all the stakeholders fundamentally insecure, whether that's the South Lebanese or the Syrians or Palestinian citizens in Israel or the West Bank or Gaza. These are all functions of electoral politics. The Americans have an important election coming up in November. The Netanyahu administration has an Israeli election coming up. We could talk more about that, but that's kind of my broad overview.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Professor Napi, and thanks for always being available for us. You're just, I just wish we had more time with each of these guys today. Well, when we come back in the next hour of Inside Sources, let's go back into the courtroom where the preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson is taking place this morning. We'll get you updated on where we are and where those proceedings sit. Stay with us.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top local story this hour. Wildfires continued to burn across the state over the holiday weekend. KSL News Radio's Alexandria Bonilla has the latest.
Crews have been hard at work. The Iron Fire is now 100% contained, along with the Bonneville Fire. But not so ideal weather conditions made fighting a little harder for others. The Babylon Fire in San Juan grew to 90,000 acres and is not contained at all. Utah Fire Info says about 589 personnel are working on the Wild Goose Fire just outside of Holden. That's about halfway contained and has burned more than 12,000 acres. And the Cottonwood Fire is now 47% contained, and it hasn't grown too much over the past few days. Alexandria Bonilla, KSL News Radio.
In other local news, a Costa Vida restaurant has burned down over the weekend, and officials say fireworks are a possible cause. KSL News Radio's Brianna Willis reports.
The roof of the Layton Costa Vida restaurant caught fire just before midnight on Saturday. The Layton Fire Department says the build of the roof gave them some trouble. A flat roof has been built over the original pitched roof, giving the fire plenty of air pockets to spread to. Crews were pulled out right before the roof collapsed. In the morning, they had to come back to put out a small fire that had restarted. The building is a near-complete loss, with damages totaling to nearly $1.2 million.
Officials will be back investigating the scene today, looking to see if fireworks were a cause. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow Jones is up 3 points. That's a fraction of a percent. The S&P 500 is up 51 points. That's 0.7%. And the NASDAQ is up 321 points. That is 1.25%. Coming up, breaking into the triple digits, KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Man, I love this place. I've been surfing here since I was a kid. Now, seeing my grandson out on the water, it means everything to me. Watching him and taking in the blue waves, the sea breeze, the blurry horizon.
If you have geographic atrophy, or GA, subtle changes in vision could mean it's progressing toward irreversible vision loss. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression and could help preserve your vision for longer, so you may keep seeing the world around you. Izervay, or avacincaptad pegol, is an eye injection. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may cause blood in the white of the eye, blurred vision, or a temporary increase in eye pressure. Do not drive or use machinery until vision has recovered after an eye injection or exam. Ask your retina specialist how you can slow your GA with Izervay. To learn more, call 1-855-IZERVAY or go to izervay.com. Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Summer happens. Backyard barbecues, pool days, family vacations, kids running in and out of the house, pets trekking in dirt after every adventure. By July, your carpets have probably seen it all. Instead of worrying about the mess, let Zero-Res take care of it. Their patented cleaning technology removes dirt, stains, and allergens without the use of sticky soaps or harsh chemicals. Their process leaves your carpet looking and feeling cleaner longer, saving you time and money. Even better, a Zero-Res clean leaves carpets dry in hours, not days, so you can get back to enjoying summer sooner. And every cleaning is backed by the Gotta Love It guarantee. If you're not completely satisfied, Zero-Res will come back and re-clean the areas you're not happy with at no additional cost. Right now, get 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $139. Call 866-ZERO-RES or schedule online at ZeroRes.com today to start your summer cleanup. Spell the same forward or backward, Zero-Res is the right way to clean.
Right now, JCW's has 15 bus and billboards depicting our delicious, mouthwatering hamburgers across I-15. We've also just learned that I-15 averages 15 fender benders a day. Probably a coincidence, but just in case, keep your eyes on the road. Here's what our burgers sound like. Now, with your hands at 10 and 2, safely turn into one of our 5 locations in American Fork, Lehigh, Provo, South Jordan, and Harriman. JCW's. Quality and a lot of it.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. You deserve to love where you bank. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Still working on a couple of crashes. The first is on the South Belt. This is for drivers making their way westbound, just right about 700 west. It's off to the right. Also for drivers southbound I-15, we have a couple of crashes there, one at University Parkway in Orem on the right, and the other about 800 south in Payson on the left. While you're planning your day, plan for comfort too with the Good Feet store. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today through Thursday, it's going to stick in the mid to high 90s until Friday when it finally breaks 100 degrees, reaching a searing 105 by Sunday. Right now, we're getting an early start on the heat with 88 degrees in Salt Lake City and some showers. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Let's continue our coverage and track the ongoing preliminary hearing for Tyler Robinson. Of course, he's the man charged with shooting and killing political influencer Charlie Kirk 10 months ago at Utah Valley University in Orem.
So earlier in the show, we heard the state's first witness describing the scene at Utah Valley University on the day of the shooting by describing building by building where every building was located.
And you asked me at the beginning, is this really going to take 5 days? And I said, no, there's no way. But now I think we could go 5 days because we're still on the first witness and we're just drawing more and more objections from the defense about what's being seen on the screens, what the witness can describe. He did sort of talk about the layout of the land, and I understand you've got to lay some foundation. Anytime you've got a witness. The judge just retook the bench. Let me just he's making some preliminary remarks. Let's go to those for just a minute.
That if they choose to leave the courtroom, they can come back whenever they wish. They're not prohibited to coming back solely at the break. So I just wanted to clarify that in case there was any question about that. In addition, I want to talk about the exhibits as it relates to their admission and publication of the exhibit. So whenever there is an objection to an exhibit, I would ask that the attorneys are clear specifically what they're objecting to. There's basically three levels of objections that could be objected to. First, the admittance of the exhibit itself. Second is the publication of the exhibit to the gallery. And third is the publication which is electronically captured by the media. So, counsel, I'll leave it to you in regards to what you object to or what you wish to respond to. If no objection to the publication media capture of the exhibit is specifically raised, the court will presume there's no objection. So, being that the monitor was introduced today by the court, I wanted to offer that guidance to the parties in regards to your objections. With that, let's go ahead and return to the witnesses. I do note for the record that the counsel is present and all the parties are present, and let's go ahead and proceed. Mr. Grunander.
Thank you, Your Honor. We left off Officer Bagley with just having admitted State's Exhibit 3.1. I believe the court also granted our motion to publish 3.1. So we would ask the court to publish that to the gallery, 3.1.
Ms. Nestor, any thoughts?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll go ahead and publish Exhibit 3.1.
We're still on the state's first witness, and of course, this is the investigator who was with the Utah Valley University Police Department, laying a little bit of foundation. We'll go back to him now and listen to more of his testimony. Eventually. They're publishing a picture that he's described and letting people look at it for a minute. This has been a fairly long direct examination. Of course, the defense hasn't even been able to cross-examine.
It's just taking a second, too.
But they're putting together a lot of photographs and diagrams of the crime scene. He is with Spanish Fork Police Department now, but he was the lead investigator in this case from Utah Valley University at the time of the homicide, and so he's done quite a bit of the investigation, including sort of just how the investigation started and the work that he did and where he was in relation to the shooting. And he's laid a pretty good framework for sort of a if you can get a mind's eye view of the layout here, where the shooting took place, where the various things were. He hasn't laid out obviously where Tyler Robinson was, but I think that will become clear for the judge or for the finder of fact, because he's sort of described where the buildings are. So then when he gets to the point where we found this here and we found this there, it'll all make sense. It'll all come to fruition. But boy, it's been a long sort of drawn out process, and it's again, we're almost through the first half of the first day, and we are with the first witness still, and not even seemingly halfway through him. So this could be a long process, but the court has no choice. This is a death penalty case. They've got to make sure that they give the state every opportunity, and the defense is going through being able to cross-examine. So it looks like we're back with this witness now.
Officer Bagley, so you testified that this is the screwdriver as you saw it on September 10th, 2025, correct?
Yes.
I'm going to and this was on top of which roof?
The Losi building.
And in relationship to the entrance, the stairway, and when you hopped over the rail to get there, where was it located?
About 10 or 15 feet in.
Okay. If I could, Your Honor, bring up State's Exhibit number 2 that was previously admitted.
All right.
I would like to have Officer Bagley come down from the witness stand and point on that exhibit approximately where this screwdriver was located, and describe it for the record.
All right, you may step down, and if you have a microphone for him as well.
I think there was one up there. Oh, here we go. So if you can describe where you saw that screwdriver, point to that.
Yeah, so this is the Losi building right here with the light gray. Here's the guardrail in the center of the picture with the red brick. Just over that, about 10, 15 feet in, about right there.
About right there, okay. Now on this exhibit, Exhibit 3.1, there's an evidence tag, yellow, number 5. Was that present when you found the screwdriver?
No.
Okay, so that was left there by an evidence tech?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can take your seat again.
Again, he's describing what he found and where. Apparently, some of it had already been marked by other evidence technicians and other investigators there. But he's just describing the picture, what he found. The screwdriver is obviously of some
significance. I'm going to direct
significance.
your attention to your monitor again and have you look at State's Exhibit 3.2. And if you'll let me know when you see that.
Okay, I see it.
Okay. And can you tell us what that is?
Yes, that's a picture of the top of the Losi building looking west.
Okay. And how do you know that that is, in fact, the top of the Losi Center, looking west?
I can see the landmarks of several buildings, that the Fugel buildings on the top left of it. You've got on the right is a white roof, which is the Sorensen building on the right side of the picture. This is also the gravel area on top of the Losi building.
Okay. Can you see the courtyard from this exhibit?
Yes, a little bit.
What about the tent that was set up that Mr. Kirk was underneath?
Yes.
Okay. What about the Hall of Flags?
Yes.
Did you mention that this was facing west? What direction are we looking?
We're looking west towards Utah Lake.
Okay. Officer, is this a fair and accurate depiction of what you observed on September 10th, 2025 on top of the Losi building?
Yes.
State offers State's Exhibit 3.2, Judge.
Ms. Nestor?
Your Honor, I think that we renew our standing objection. There is an evidence tag here, which begs the question that it's not a fair and accurate representation of how he saw it. And we also don't have any indication about when this picture was taken or by whom. So we object to its admission.
I see. Thank you. Mr. Grunander.
Officer, one more question, Judge. Officer Bagley, apart from the evidence tag, do you see an evidence tag on that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Was that present when you were on top of the Losi Center and observed this?
That was not.
Okay. Otherwise, is it fair and accurate?
Yes.
State moves to admit.
Anything further?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Given that follow-up question, noting that the evidence tag, it appears to be number 2 on State's Exhibit 3.2 was not present, but otherwise it is a fair and accurate representation, as stated by the witness to State's Exhibit 3.2. The court will admit it into evidence, and it may be published at the discretion of or the request of counsel.
Your Honor, the state would move to publish.
So anytime you're admitting photographs in a court, the threshold question is this a fair and accurate representation of what you saw? And the defense is saying, well, it didn't have the evidence tag on it. But that doesn't mean it's not a fair and accurate representation. I think, with all respect to defense counsel, who's very skilled, she's objecting to everything imaginable, which is really slowing the proceedings down. And maybe she feels like she has to because of the nature of the case. But the judge is going to start letting evidence in, and the state's laying the appropriate foundation for these photographs to come in. And they speak for themselves for whatever they stand for.
All right. Thanks for that. And when we come back on Inside Sources, we're going to talk about weddings. So Madison Square Garden saw a big one this weekend, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. But we're also going to share some wedding advice for the newlyweds from couples who've been married for 70 years. You won't want to miss this. Stay tuned.
My internet service is rock solid. In fact, it's the most intelligent Wi-Fi you can get. When it detects a problem, it even heals itself. In my house, we're connected with Xfinity Wi-Fi. It hits every corner of the house, and it's built for speed. Sometimes I even do my show from home, and I never have to worry about losing the connection because Xfinity Wi-Fi is powered by fiber, 99.999% reliability, and even better, the grandkids can watch a movie, play games, my wife can surf, and I'm still rock solid on KSL. And the best part is you can lock in 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with the best equipment. 5 years, same price, no contracts or commitments. You get everything you need. Data, equipment, plus you'll be online within minutes with same-day Wi-Fi. 5 years, same price, no contract. Go to Xfinity.com or visit an Xfinity store to get started. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply. Select plans only.
For 250 years, the beating heart of the USA has been the people who call this land home and the communities we make here together. America First Credit Union is proud to have been a part of those communities for 87 years and proud to help our members realize their financial dreams. So come join us in celebrating and succeeding the way Americans always have. Together. Federally insured by NCUA.
Hey there, it's Julie from Logan. Head up north where the air is clear for a refreshingly unexpected getaway. Start your day by singing yodelay-hoo at the top of your lungs on a canyon trail with views that go on for miles. Here's a secret. The National Forest is only 10 minutes from your hotel. What? I know. Next, rent horses or a side-by-side at Beaver Creek Lodge up Logan Canyon to spy colorful wildflowers and birds and stunningly beautiful scenery. After your day of adventure, wander downtown to check out our local shops selling everything from antiques to giant jigsaw puzzles to vintage clothing and goat's milk soap. Watch them hand-dip chocolates at Bluebird Candy, eat sourdough pizza, or drop into the family-friendly Prodigy Brew Pub where their deep-fried pickle spears are divine. I didn't even mention live theater performance like the Lyrics Laugh Out Loud Forever Plaid, or free concerts every weekday at noon in the Tabernacle, or community festivals, or, see what I'm saying? We are refreshingly Logan. Visit explorelogan.com, explorelogan.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-330-8323 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-330-8323. That's 800-330-8323. What do you have to lose? Call 800-330-8323. Again, 800-330-8323.
Any Hour Services can make sure your AC keeps you cool this summer. Whether you need a tune-up, repair, or just a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So many people are still eagerly awaiting the details on what has been billed. The American wedding of the century. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married on Friday.
I am not eagerly awaiting that myself, and I had sort of slept through that whenever the wedding was. I wish them the best, but it was kind of hush-hush. We don't really know what happened to the ceremony itself. I think it was at Madison Square Garden.
It was. There were like
covered.
1,000 guests, and
Right.
everybody was kind of sworn to secrecy, and they had a no-phone policy. And
there you go.
Anyway, so we're going to start with what we do know, and this is from ABC.
For the big day, the bride and groom wore custom couture Christian Dior, including a gown by the fashion house's creative director, Jonathan Anderson. This is his first for a celebrity wedding of this scale. Both stepped out in Louboutins, while Swift completed the look bejeweled in Cartier. Instead of a traditional wedding party, siblings turned best men Jason Kelce and Austin Swift stood by their sides. And officiating the ceremony, none other than the wedding singer himself, Adam Sandler.
Well, that sounds like the weddings that we attend all the time here in Utah.
Sure.
Cartier and celebrity guests. And anyway,
And Adam Sandler.
it does kind of make you wonder. Celebrity weddings don't particularly last long. I
Often.
hope the best for this couple. But it kind of got me thinking about what keeps marriages going long and
I
why
know.
marriages can last.
So we have with us Deseret News family reporter Lois Collins. Lois, you just did a story on two couples who happen to have the same last name, no relation, but they've been married for more than 70 years. That's a really, really long time.
Well, you have to also marry fairly young.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was going to
Married
say, right.
Yes,
70 years. so,
you do.
Yeah.
But talk to us about what made their marriages work for so long, and then let's just keep going.
Okay, so the thing, I asked both of them for some advice, and the first thing they both said is they saw bad marriages.
Mm-hmm.
So they saw divorces and didn't want one. So part of it, and Doug Wilkes, the editor upstairs at Deseret News, he says, the thing that really makes a marriage last is don't get divorced. There's some truth to that. There really is some truth to
Sure,
that.
and?
You have to. Nobody's going to have a storybook every single day. It's just not going to happen. But their advice included sense of humor, sense of adventure and fun, respect for each other, serving others helps. When you do things together, and if you have kids as a family, helping others, that strengthens bonds too. Generosity toward each other. Be kind without needing to be right was one of my favorite quotes. They had one of the Polson couples had that on the wall. Be kind without needing to be right. Don't criticize. Show appreciation. And by the way, the don't criticize is especially each other, which ties into one of my favorite pieces that I really wish somebody had told me 30 years ago when I was first starting on my marriage journey. No advice unless asked. Don't say you should do this, you should do that, you should do whatever. I think that the thing that they shared that was so true across both couples was just this sense of really trying to like each other every day and realizing that even when you were mad sometimes, you still liked each other. You were not just lovers, but also friends. And that helped a lot too. And the other thing that I would point out is if you can get a good marriage, if you can build a good marriage, it's good for you. There are a lot of health benefits. There are a lot of not only physical health, but mental health benefits. And it's good
longevity.
for the family. Oh, yeah, longevity. But part of that has to do with you recognize when each other are in trouble medically, so you're less apt to have a cancer that goes on and on. It's easy for one person to put off seeing a doctor. It's harder when you've got somebody gently nagging you but not giving you advice you didn't ask for. It's good for avoiding depression. It's great for, fewer heart attacks, strokes. These are all proven benefits. But the thing that sometimes gets lost is the message that this is a good marriage. So first you have to craft a good marriage.
It's interesting you mentioned don't criticize, because that's one thing I see couples do. And I would say don't criticize in public. You know what I mean? When you have couples and you see them jabbing at each other, you wonder what it's like when they're not in open space with other people. It's like, save it for some other time. But boy, that just makes me uncomfortable when my friends are there and they're going at each other publicly, criticizing, even though they're going to go home and live happily ever after, apparently. But that old psyche bothers me.
So there's one thing that every single study on having a good relationship shows. There's one thing that no marriage can overcome.
Contempt.
And that is contempt. Contempt.
Yeah.
And when you're criticizing somebody publicly, when you're putting him down, and especially that kind of mean humor, that's contempt.
Yeah, it's the eye rolling, it's the sighs, right? I mean, and I think it's the Gottman Institute, isn't it? The one that said, look, we can tell within 10 minutes of a couple coming in if they're going to make it, because if they treat each other with contempt in front of a counselor, they're not going to survive. Their marriage won't survive.
In front of anyone, and in front of your kids too.
Yeah,
it hurts your relationship with your kids as well.
Boy, I imagine, though, Lois, with 70 years, that there have been some significant ups and downs. I mean,
sure.
you can't, and I guess I get into a question here eventually. What would make a marriage successful, in my mind, is being able to work through those events.
Well, you have to be able to have those side-by-side conversations that I keep bringing into every conversation I have with you guys, because I like side-by-side conversations. But you have those events, but you have to consider yourself a team as you go through them. And sometimes that's not really easy to do, because sometimes you're seeing things differently. I think about going into the polls with my mom and dad, who were both blind, and so I cast their votes. And for 43 years, when I cast their votes, they canceled each other out.
Yeah.
You can do that if you have other traits.
Yeah.
And they were happily married. Yeah. So you have to. But one thing that one bride said to me that I thought was really funny was she said, I'm a lot less feisty than I would have been with someone else. So it helps if there's someone who's a little bit more balanced. And it's also true that emotional control on the part of the woman is helpful for the marriage. I guess presumably because she's more apt to pop off. I don't know.
That seems biased.
No, it was a really interesting study, but it was true. If the woman can maintain some sort of sense of balance, I think it's kind of a regulator, which, hey, I didn't do the study.
It's so interesting, Lois, because we just spent an hour talking about peace building through different cultural lenses. And one of the things I think that was a common denominator there that applies here is listening to understand, right? Instead of jumping in with, I know the answer, I can fix your problem. It's really this idea, this mutual respect, right? Of saying, listening to understand. And so to your point where you're saying, don't offer advice if it's not asked for. My husband has learned, we've been married 40 years. He's learned to ask me, do you just need me to listen or do you need me to fix it? Right? Because most of the time, I'm not looking for a fix. I just need to be able to vent, right? And I don't want him to jump in with, well, this is what you need to do to fix it. And I do the same thing too. And so I've had to moderate that as well and say, look, do you want me to just listen or do you want me to give you some advice?
Yeah, it's great. And it goes back to that same thing on the wall, be kind without needing to be right.
Yeah.
Did you get a sense that there were different perspectives between the men and the women in these long-term relationships in terms of what they each consider to be their secret to success?
No, I saw some similarity. I think one of the husbands said, he thinks it was David O. McKay, he's not positive, but he quoted him on saying, don't raise your voice unless your house is on fire. I think he was described as somebody who was always really kind, even when he disciplined his kids. He would say, okay, you're going to do this. I told you to do this chore. You're going to do this. But then he'd lean against the door and chat with you while you did it. So I don't know. I think that you can't find common denominators with four people based on just four people. But what you can find is that they each have their own styles, and they found a way to make their individual styles work together.
I know Arthur Brooks has said that it's not the absence of conflict, actually. So he said he's married to a Spanish woman and their arguments are very loud and heated, but they don't have contempt. And so for some households, maybe it's you don't ever raise your voice, and other households, maybe that advice doesn't apply as long as you come back together with respect.
Well, and if you read the comments on the story, there were people who go, we fight all the time and we're strong as ever, and it's like in my family, we're not big fighters, right. And I still believe if it's more important to you than it is to me, you can have it. I don't care.
I wish more people were like that. Thanks, Lois. That was Lois Collins, Deseret News family reporter in studio. Speaking of conflict, let's return to our conversation about peace building. We had a whole special hour on that at 10 o'clock, and we barely scratched the surface. Our thoughts about that when we come back.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Cameron Elliott. KSL's top national story this hour from ABC News. President Trump says FIFA made a brilliant decision to allow a top player on the U.S. men's team to compete tonight against Belgium in the World Cup after he weighed in with the organization over the controversial red card. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy has more from Washington.
President Trump said he'd never even heard of a red card.
They say you can't play. That's very unfair.
Trump says he called the head of FIFA, Gianni Infantino, and asked him to review the decision to disqualify American striker Folarin Balogun.
All I did was ask for a review. I didn't say you have to do this.
He shrugs off the protests from Belgium, saying if the Belgians beat the Americans at full strength, they can be really proud.
The other way, if they beat us, we'll say I say it was rigged.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Other national stories, KSL is following Microsoft's Xbox is going to spin off 4 video game studios as part of a large reorganization that includes job cuts. ABC's Brian Clark has more.
Xbox CEO Asha Sharma says history's full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability and that Xbox will not be one of them. She told that to employees in a memorandum announcing massive changes to the division that she says is not healthy. Xbox is cutting 1,600 jobs today, 3,200 through the fiscal year. Overall, Microsoft says 4,800 job cuts make up a little more than 2% of its global workforce. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Taking a look at your money at this moment, we've got green across the board. The Dow Jones is up 27 points. That's a fraction of a percent. The S&P 500 is up 50 points. That's 0.7%. And the NASDAQ is up 280 points. That is 1.1%. Coming up, prepare for the hottest weekend yet. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Dear Linex, 8 years ago when I bought one of your spray-on truck bed liners, I started my construction business, then landscaping, then there were the camping trips. But even after all that, my Linex spray-on bed liner still looks great. Thing is, I'd really like to get rid of that old truck. Isn't there any way to destroy this thing?
Actually, no. Linex spray-on bed liners are guaranteed for the life of your truck. Linex, serious protection, killer looks, guaranteed.
Linex of Midvale is now open for business at 7000 South State. Linex and Jordan Camper have teamed up to offer you the very best in protective coatings and truck accessories. We specialize in truck tops and tonneau covers from ARE, a wide range of products from floor mats to step bars. Just what you need to make your truck look and perform its best. Jordan Camper at 7000 South State features multiple installation bays with trained technicians ready to install. Follow us on jordancamper.com and Facebook.
Let's face it, it's time to give your finances a serious glow up. Hi, I'm Susan Spears, a certified public accountant and host of the all-new podcast, Talk to Your CPA. Think of this as your ultimate money guide, packed with actionable tips for every stage of life. Starting a family, college, a business, retirement. We'll cover it all and call on a deep bench of money experts to share their best strategies. And when I switch into CPA mode, we'll cut through the jargon to uncover hidden tax breaks or financial nuggets that might work for you, like special deductions for tax earners, tax wins at age 65, and benefits when you buy a new car, or just how to stretch your dollar. The first episode drops soon, so subscribe to Talk to Your CPA on your favorite podcast platform today. Because true financial freedom isn't about ditching your daily latte. It's about uncovering hidden hacks to launch a financial glow-up that keeps on glowing.
Talk to Your CPA is proudly powered by the Utah Association of CPAs.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Summer's finally here, and we're kicking it off with a whole lot of free. Free brake pads with Duralast rotors. Free oil filter with 5 quarts of oil. Free Armor All wipes with Armor All glass cleaner, and more. More free, so you can have more summer. Celebrate free at AutoZone. Now through July 27th. Restrictions apply.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Learn how to save more this summer at UCCU.com. Here's Michelle Rowe.
Still slowdowns in southbound I-15 in Payson. This is right about 800 south. The left of the 2 lanes is still blocked, so you're going to see some sizable slowdowns through that area. The earlier crash on the South Belt, making your way westbound, just west of the freeway, that has cleared. At UTA, we move your early mornings, your long days, your big plans. We move with purpose. We move you. Plan your trip at rideuta.com. I'm Michelle Rowe in the KSL Traffic Center.
Today, the high is going to be in the high 90s with a chance of thunderstorms, but it's going to break into triple digits for the weekend, reaching 105 degrees by Sunday. Right now, though, it's 88 degrees and mostly cloudy downtown. I'm Cameron Elliott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSL News Radio. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So at 10 o'clock, we started an hour on really peace building among different cultures, but we ran out of time. We had 4 guests. I think we should have had 4 hours, or at least more time with each of them. There was just so much I wanted to cover.
So, yeah, I wanted to have an opportunity to just revisit some of that conversation. about what we can learn from other cultures when we approach the topic of peace building. And so I want to ask you, Greg, what stood out to you? What are some of your takeaways?
I thought one of the things that stood out to me were the similarities that each of them brought to the table about, a couple of things. One is that what we sort of think of as peace is not necessarily peace, and that there's maybe a spectrum on it, and that there's much more to resolving a conflict than just saying, okay, we're settled, we're done. I mean,
Yeah.
you've got to have the conversation about why we're here and the dialogue about how we can avoid this in the future, instead of what we seem to do so much in this world today, which is, okay, let's sign a treaty and then 5 years from now revisit it.
Right,
Because it
and
doesn't solve the problem at all.
I think that we, several of our guests talked about that idea that it's not just the absence of conflict. In fact, I think Dr. Nuppy said that's considered a negative peace, but there are ways to work towards positive peace. Negative peace, in my mind, is like you get the siblings who are in a fight together, and mom and dad hug each other and say you're sorry. You know neither one means it.
Right.
But
right.
you've stopped the conflict for the moment, right? And then that it's all really, so much of it is about relationships, and there's some disconnect, right, in a relationship, whether that's fear or it's, we've talked about contempt. They didn't mention that word, but there's some kind of break in relationships, and that for lasting peace, you need this longer recognition and realization that those relationships are really important. I thought it was really interesting. Dr. Lingalinga talked about in Indigenous Pacific Islander communities, right, that they're not looking at peace as a one-time event, right? This is not a one-off, basically, but it's an ongoing thing. And one of the questions I had for him that we ran out of time is, when people are on an island, you can't get away. You have to figure out how to get along, right? And what does that often look like, and how is that different?
And they do, because the alternative isn't very good.
Yeah.
And when you consider that at some point you have to make peace, I just think that, first of all, I needed more time with some of these people because there's so much more to draw out of this. But different cultures look at it as, a much, much more broad discussion than what we sort of think of as war and peace, and you're either on one side or the other. That there's just so much more to it, and that's what was really helpful for me, was just to hear that and to learn that. It made me think of, I guess, just peacemakers in my lifetime that you think of as a person who is, Gandhi or Mother Teresa or people like that, or if I were to point to a political leader, I mean, I'll get in trouble for saying this, but I think of somebody like with the mindset of a Jimmy Carter, who was just a peaceful man. I mean, it was hard to argue with him, and he was a president, and people saw him as weak. But I think looking back, you think of him as the kind of person that could have built more peace had he had the chance.
It's such an interesting discussion, right? And I think as we concluded that hour, we had Dr. Nuppy from Utah State talk about, currently in the Middle East, they're talking about transactional peace, right? This is not transformational. This is not relational. It's transactional. What do you get? What do I get? And how long will this peace last? We don't know, right? But I'm gonna share a little bit about the role of women in peace. Well, there's some really interesting research by Dr. Valerie Hudson, and she used to be at BYU. She's now down in Texas. I think it's Texas A&M, but I could be wrong. But she has done a lot of research on the role of women and violence and international relations. That's her expertise. One of the things that she found is there is a direct correlation, statistically significant, between how women are treated in their societies and how that society at large interacts on the international stage. So, for example, if women are treated as property, and in multiple countries around the world, rape is a property crime, not a personal crime, then those countries are a lot more likely to be aggressive on the international stage, right? They're a lot more likely to feel like violence is going to solve the problem. It's one of the things that she has found in her research. There's also additional research about how women at the negotiating table for the peace processes, how they make them more likely. So, for example, if women are at the table, and I don't mean somewhere as the reporter, if they're actually at the table, the peace agreement that's reached is 35% more likely to last at least 15 years. If you include civil society groups, including women's organizations, those peace agreements are 64% less likely to fail than if they're not involved. And then if you start looking at having female security officers, for example, involved in the peace building process, they have access to people in places that males can't go. So, for example, you look at some of these Middle Eastern cultures, you can have women who can go talk to women where men would never be allowed in the door, right? And they can bring that information back to the table. And I just find it so interesting because I see these peace talks that we're having with Iran and the U.S. and Israel and Lebanon. I don't see any women, not a single one.
And I've heard those same stats. And so you have to ask yourself, what are we doing that we're excluding that?
Because it's so transactional. It's like, what can I get? How can I get it quickly? And that's why I think it was one of the reasons it's so important to look from a different lens too, right? And I think several of our guests brought up that this is a long-term process, peace building, conflict resolution. This is a longer-term approach. How do we do that over time, right? Part of it includes whose voice is missing at the table, and a lot of time it's the women.
Yeah, and
almost always.
And transactional is what is getting us in trouble right now in the Middle East because
Absolutely.
all of a sudden, hey, the strait's not open anymore. There's a problem there. A ship has been attacked. Okay, let's go bomb them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
okay, then we're even. And it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. That's the punching back, right? Well, he hit me first, right? That's
Yeah.
that was part of the question I asked everybody is when you feel defensive, right? Whether somebody bombed you or somebody punched you or said something mean online, what's your response back? Well, we really need to start looking at how do we turn towards and address with curiosity. And look, there's all kinds of levels, but I think women need to be at the table, no question.
And I don't know why nobody else understands that. Obviously, it's true. I mean,
they understand it.
People,
they just don't care.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's seen as a show of weakness or something. It's just it makes no sense at all. But I guess in some cultures it's important and understood. But in today's major cultures, we don't seem to appreciate that at all.
It was one of the places, Northern Ireland is one of the places where women were really involved in the peace process, and it's still holding.
Yeah.
So, all right, coming up on Inside Sources, we have to talk about this amazing feat from over the weekend. A 31-year-old woman made history by becoming the fastest and youngest person ever to solo row from California to Hawaii. Stay with us.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Omada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
You know, I used to think all money managers were the same until I spoke with Fisher Investments.
Really? How different are they?
Fisher's investment counselors are dedicated to service, not sales, keeping clients up to date on their portfolio.
Well, they probably just invest in a bunch of mutual funds like I do.
Nope. They build a tailored portfolio based on their clients' personal goals, helping them stay on track for a comfortable retirement.
Well, they must make commissions selling products.
Actually, Fisher doesn't sell any commission-based products. They're a fiduciary, and they believe that's a conflict.
Then they have some kind of complex fee structure.
Nope. Fisher has a simple, transparent fee that's a percentage of their client's portfolio. So they do better when their clients do better.
It sounds like Fisher really is different.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Fisher Investments. Clearly different wealth management. Learn more at fisherinvestments.com/different. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. In 2023, Utah lawmakers created Utah Waterways to unite conservation efforts and promote smarter water use through the Slow the Flow campaign, helping protect Utah's water for the future. Director of Community Engagement, Cynthia B., joins us with more.
Water fuels Utah's economy, communities, and quality of life. And the future of this vital resource depends on what we do today. Government, businesses, and nonprofits are stepping up. But the real power lies in aligning our efforts and speaking with one strong, unified voice for water conservation. In the coming decade, Utah must transform hundreds of millions of square feet of non-functional lawn to water-wise alternatives, and businesses are essential to making that change happen. Most commercial landscapes offer no recreational benefit, yet they consume enormous amounts of water. By partnering with the Slow the Flow campaign, companies can lead by example, showcase impactful results, and inspire others to follow. We equip corporate green teams and employees with education, tools, and mentoring to turn ideas into action. Businesses can also invest directly in the nonprofit Utah Waterways, helping fund conservation projects in the communities they serve.
Utah stands at a pivotal moment, and through Utah Waterways, businesses can lead on conservation and help protect the state's water future. Learn more and access resources at utahwaterways.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
If you're struggling with your mortgage, there's a free government program that offers expert one-on-one advice about your mortgage options. Call 1-888-995-HOPE or visit makinghomeaffordable.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Treasury, HUD, and the Ad Council.
Everything to my back is dark.
High in the alpine wilderness.
The ridgeline is imposing the escarpments, the drops.
A place where survival,
it's dark now, I have nothing,
is never certain. In 2011, an Australian hiker vanished.
Did he really make a wrong turn, or did he decide that he was done?
You have done this walk too, but this is your backyard.
The mountains have decided to keep him.
Find and follow the podcast series Uinta Triangle, wherever you get your podcasts.
The new Inside Sources.
It was a record-breaking rowing event. Friday night, Kelsey Fendler docked in Hawaii. She had just completed a more than 2,400-mile rowing trek from Monterey, California to Oahu, Hawaii.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like. Well, she is the first American woman and the youngest woman ever to row from California to Hawaii solo. She recorded a video diary and posted on social media to share with her followers. My word.
I have to tell you, too, not only did she set records as a woman, she set records, period, and she crushed them.
Yeah, she blew them out of the water, literally.
But here's the moment. She announced on Instagram that her goal was in sight.
You can see land over there. That's Oahu right there. I can see it, and it can see me. I am in visual distance of Oahu. I can even make out buildings right now.
That had to be the most incredible feeling,
great
to realize you're that close.
So her journey took 43 days, 17 hours, and 55 minutes across the Pacific. And there were a lot of people waiting to greet her with flower leis and et cetera, as you might imagine. But one of the things that is so cool, I think, is, well, first of all, who thinks about doing this? But second of all, she crushed the previous women's record by something like 40 days, and the previous record overall held by a man by a week.
I mean, this is I can't even imagine the strength and the endurance that somebody like that has. And just how you do that. I mean, why you do that is a different question. But I mean, we wouldn't be talking about it if she hadn't done it, so good for her. I mean, I have a little fishing kayak, and I take it out about a mile. and I'm in good shape. But
Right.
That's a good workout. And then I always think at the end of the day, I got to go
40
a mile, get back in.
43 days. So she celebrated her 32nd birthday at sea, and I think it was just maybe a day before she got to Hawaii. But members of the U.S. Coast Guard passed by. They sang happy birthday to her. It was just really a lot of fun. And it was an article that I saw, and I'm just like, we have got to talk about this because that was really just incredible. And I mean, are your arms sore after 43 days?
Or your
Probably not.
back.
I mean, you're
I have to wonder. I'm going to look this one up. I wonder what the vessel was like. What her kayak
boat
or her rowboat, whatever it was.
It
had
was
to be
little.
Something really interesting.
Yeah. I saw some video of it. It's not very big. So I do have a few fun facts. So do you remember Richard the Lionheart? Right, the King Richard of England.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It actually is his the day he was crowned King of England. He was a real person, and that happened on July 6th, 1189. Believe it or not, so far back in history. It was also on this day in 1921 that Nancy Reagan was born, and she, of course, ended up marrying Ronald. And
very strong personality.
Oh yeah,
she was one of the strongest first ladies I think we've ever had.
She was great,
good or bad.
1942, Anne Frank's family went into hiding in the After House in Amsterdam. So this was when, remember, of course, that they were hiding there. And we do have another fun fact that I have to mention. It was on this day that our producer Andy Cupp was born. So we get to sing to him. You can start it.
Okay, here we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andy. Happy birthday to you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks for sharing with us. Yes.
It's so fun. All right.
That was a lot of fun.
It's also another famous birthday, actually. George W. Bush was born on this day 80 years ago, so he's 80 today, a little older than Andy. So.
Yeah, he's the junior Bush.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he's the junior. Yeah. So I also have a Supreme Court decision for you. It was a later coming one, but this was July 6, 1983. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled that retirement plans can't pay women less. Oh, how nice of you.
Who thought that made sense otherwise, that you can have two different, but 83, 43 years ago, hello. That just makes so much sense.
Look, I know. So anyways, those are some of my fun facts of the day. Also, I have to tell you this. This is a really funny fun fact, considering we just talked about Travis Kelce getting married to Taylor Swift. It is, and I'm not joking, International Kissing Day. And the reason I say it's pertinent also is because Andy Reid shared that was Adam Sandler's advice to the couple. Keep kissing. You can't be that angry at each other if you're still kissing each other.
Well, that's good. Yep, I think so. That's an important act, and it's something we try to do regularly in our marriage, just a little kiss goodbye or something like that.
That's right. It's International Kissing Day.
Well, that's good to know. I'm going to partake tonight.
So, okay, do you have closing arguments for us? You actually have a lot of time today.
Well, good, because this preliminary hearing is taking a lot of time, and I'm talking about the Tyler Robinson matter, and it brings to me a couple of points. And one is, we watch these movies about law and order and trials, and people ask me all the time, boy, tell me the next time you're doing a trial, because I really want to come and watch. And I'm like, no, you don't. If you watch my closing arguments, those are kind of fun. Or if you watch my cross-examination of a certain witness, that's kind of fun. But the trial itself is painful. It just takes a long time. And a preliminary hearing is supposed to be a snapshot of the trial. We're still on witness number 1, and we're halfway through day 1. And it's because of the type of case, but it's also because that's just how the trial process works. And I watch jurors. I've done some 200 jury trials, and you have these jurors, and I say these poor jurors. Of course, I think a lot of them will go away from it thinking it was a valuable experience. But even they are like, we didn't realize how much how boring it could be, parts of the trial. I mean, just how when you're in the throes of it as you're an attorney,
detailed.
It's like, oh, you got to do this and you got to be ready for that, and there's an objection here and I got to admit an exhibit here. But boy, if you're watching trial, and I've watched trials. In fact, even for KSL, I went and watched the Lori Vallow trial, and the whole time I'm sitting there going, I could do better. I could do better. I could do better. And this is really boring. But it's because when you're watching it instead of participating, it's a different world. And I'll say another thing about that. It's not about the trials you see on TV or the trials you see on movies. It's different. It's also a death penalty case. And so in defense of all the parties, including the judge, including the prosecutor and the defense attorney, no one can leave a stone unturned in this case. It's not a drunk driving case. It's not a shoplifting case. It's not a personal injury automobile accident case or a divorce. Not that those are lesser cases, but when you're dealing with a case where the result could be taking someone's life, that's what the state is asking for here, is that Tyler Robinson be executed someday for what he did. I mean, I've done those cases, and they're gut-wrenching. I've represented victims. I've been a prosecutor. I've been a defense attorney. And those cases take on a light that no other case does. And right now we have these death penalty cases that come up, and people say, well, why don't you jump in and take a death penalty case, Greg? And I'm like, because I've done them. It's not something I ever want to do again. My wife and I have both decided, we're done with those because they take your heart and soul away, and because the stakes are so big. So I hope that the people who are watching that Tyler Robinson case unfold will appreciate that the defense attorneys are making objections to everything because they can, and the state is going through every witness piece by piece and item by item because they can, and the judge is allowing this because he needs to. And so please be patient with the system. It's going to work itself out. The trial will be, if the prelim is going 5 days, the trial's probably going to go 5 weeks. It's really that different. But that's how the system works. It's not like you see on a 2-hour movie where you go through a whole trial and including everything else. It's just the way it is. So anyway, I think that Utah, when you watch these trials unfold, and the Corey Richins trial was another example, I watch Utah lawyers and Utah judges, and I couldn't be prouder of us, having compared with other trials that I've seen throughout the country, and wonder what shenanigans people are playing. I think we do things very well here, even if it is a little bit plodding and a little bit slow. So be patient. Know that this preliminary hearing is going to wrap up this week. The judge is probably going to bind it over. We're going to have a trial, maybe. But I would also say the last thing I want to say about the preliminary hearing is it's going to give both sides a good picture of what their case is and how strong or weak their case is. Both sides need that. They need it to unfold so that they can sit down at the negotiating table and say, okay, here's where I'm strong and here's where I'm weak.
All right. Thanks for those closing arguments. And the preliminary hearing does continue this afternoon. The latest updates on what happened this morning coming up on Utah's Noon News.